That's right. It's another late night and time for another reach into the Just Giggle Grab Bag. And tonight we're pulling out Egad. What is this? I have the wrong bag. This must be like the bag from Christmas Chronicles, because there's a person in here. Oh my god, it's Mark Sipka.
A wild
Tiki.
Sipka appeared.
Tiki, what could the possible meaning of this be?
Guys, thanks for letting me out of that bag. It was hot in there.
Oh, you're welcome.
My goodness, it's good to be here.
This can only mean one thing.
What could it mean, Dragon?
It's the season of Sipka.
Season's greetings, boys and girls. It is I. Oh my gosh. Thanks for having it. I'm honored to have my own season, you guys. I really feel pretty cool.
Yeah. That's right, folks. You're
start
not
things off with an "Oh hi Mark" joke, but I think the vibe is kind of
Oh my gosh. I love a good Tommy Wiseau line, man. You can't go wrong.
Mark, do you get that a lot out of random curiosity just to kind of start things off on a casual note? Like, because you're an LA Mark, do you ever get "Oh hi Mark"? Just
yes. I do. And you know what? I think maybe if I weren't such a fan of The Room and Disaster Artist, so I would take offense, but I love it. Especially, I'll tell you what, you want to know who's guilty of saying it the most? Joshua Thomas.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yep. Josh Thomas one time dressed up as Tommy Wiseau for Halloween.
Oh, no.
Did not break character. I was at a party with him, and he said, "Oh, hi, Mark," so many times. It was great. It was one of the best costumes of the night because he was so committed, which is no surprise.
Kind of like how James Franco went method for the role, reportedly. So it's kind of like, one could say Joshua Thomas was so ahead of his time. He was playing Franco as Tommy Wiseau, but being method directly. And of course, Joshua Thomas in reality is also a director. Therefore, it's kind of meta collapsing in upon itself. But all of that aside, that's right, folks.
Some could call it the Twilight Zone. That's my best Tommy Wiseau. I could do better than that. Come on, I got work to do.
Let's go eat, huh?
You're like, is that a question? What is happening? Is your mouth just opening and noises coming out?
Some people may theorize that Tommy Wiseau was just going to tranquilize at the start of that movie, and he was just like, like that scene in Ace Ventura 2, where he's just kind of going around.
Yes.
Well, what if you directed that movie from that point forward? That's kind of the question why so sometimes.
It's just filled with darts. I love that.
We got to keep Tommy. It's just Greg's just there saying, we got to keep Tommy calm. It's just a little precautionary measure. You know how it goes. But anyway, what are we here doing here, folks? I mean, you're probably wondering, who is this an apparition? Is this the actual Mark Sipka? Well, you'd be right, because, folks, we're ending the season right here. We're talking to the man himself. We've analyzed and we've analyzed and marveled at this man incessantly. The man who's made us laugh and cry with his comedy and storytelling prowess. We like to refer to him as the cavalry in the JGI brigade of next level funny. This lad is a wonderkin if I ever saw one. He sings, he does sound effects, both impresses and impersonates with the best of them. Folks, give it up for a true Renaissance man as we sit down with Mark Sipka for an interview.
Wow. Can you guys just hang around with me all the time and just introduce me like that to everybody I come into contact with? I could never have a bad day if I had you guys.
We've had this running gag. I don't know how much you've listened to the podcast, but of you basically as Gandalf in the Two Towers, like writing down, "I have appeared. I have come to save you."
Oh man, well, you know what? I listened to several of them, including the one that you did about the special, and I gotta say that was so awesome of you guys to not only take the time to watch the whole family special on Amazon, but to go through and dedicate a whole episode just to it, that was really awesome. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. You had such awesome things to say. I told my parents all about it. And I think you guys had called my mom, was it the hero of the special? And maybe like the angel on the couch, something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the angel of, yeah.
And I was like, they nailed it, man. And then I told my dad how much you guys appreciated his jokes, and I'm sure afterwards you guys clearly realized who the best comedian in the family really is, and that's Tim Sipka right there.
Yeah, man, Tim Sipka rocks. He does.
Oh my goodness, that man. You know what's going to happen is he's going to get his own show. He's going to skyrocket to fame. I can see it. It's his true calling, is comedy.
Well, I've seen him perform some. He has this really spectacular magic act where there's two of them on stage at the same time, and then he does magic on top of that magic. But it's like almost Kaufman like a magic act where you don't announce a truly marvelous magical act in front. You just do all these kind of smaller math related magic tricks. That's the Tim Sipka secret right there.
Yes, it's like Andy Kaufman meets Ned Flanders meets The Prestige. You know, it's just a beautiful marriage.
Especially where the Prestige goes in the third act. Yes.
How many Tim Sipkas are there?
Okay, we can talk about Tim Sipka. Speaking of Tim Sipka and the family special, Mark, there's something I'm dying to know. I wonder if you could help me out here. How did you land the Amazon Prime special in the first? Steve and I, as you probably heard, like he and I were speculating on. I was just kind of piecing together some maybes and hypotheticals, but only you know the true answer to this. Like if you'd be able to tell us, it'd be great.
Of course. So I originally created this special because my whole family lives out of town. They all live in the Midwest. I never get to see them outside of Christmas or like maybe a special occasion. And when I found out all of them were going to plan their vacations at the same time out here in LA, I went, I must destroy them. I planned this thing. I hired the camera crew, got the theater booked, did all of this, and got them all on that couch, and they were just great sports, you know, and filmed this thing. I knew I wanted to put it somewhere. I wanted to get it in front of the most amount of people as possible so that they could see just how funny my family was. And afterwards, after editing it and going through that long process, I went through and sent it to different friends for feedback, friends that worked at different companies out here. And you know, some of them recommended, all right, you know what? You should look for a manager. You should look for an agent to help you shop this around. And as I was doing that, you know, there would be different people who watched it and they were like, we think this is great, but we don't really have room for you right now. And I went, okay, well then maybe I've just got to reach out to these companies directly. So I looked at different streaming platforms. I looked at different companies that help you get with different streaming platforms. With no luck, each one kept saying, we don't take unsolicited submissions. And then I saw Amazon and they were like, hey, send us your best stuff. You know, send us your best stuff. If we're interested, we'll put it up there. And so Amazon was when I looked at it, I went, you know what? I don't see this as a place where it has it doesn't seem to have like just a bunch of specials. It doesn't seem to have all this stuff, but it has an amazing audience that are coming to them for shows, for shopping, for music, for so much. And so I submitted. I had to go through and do all these things I had never done before with something. You know, I'm used to producing sketches and shorts, and this was such a big thing. I went, whoa, this is a movie. And you know, I had to submit them a trailer and get this thing captioned and get the sound mastered and every little detail. And then in December, I got the I logged on to Amazon because I was checking it every day, and I was with my girlfriend. We were just about to head out to a comedy show I had that night, and I went, oh, it's up. And she opened up her computer. She goes, no way, I have to buy this. And she bought it, and then we went into the living room, and we watched it on the TV. We just watched a few seconds of it, and there is video evidence of her screaming, I can't believe it. And it was just so cool, you know, to see this special on there, because, you know, a lot of my work before, I'm so proud of the work that I've gotten to do throughout the years. But a lot of it, you know, the majority of the people that see it are my friends, my family, people who have the link to it, people that have to go to my channel or my website. And what I'm really thankful for with Amazon Prime is that this is a platform that people can turn to, and they can find my special if they're looking for comedy or looking for stand-up. And so it's just been something I'm really grateful for and really proud of. And it's been neat to see all the responses I've gotten from people who know me and know my family, and also a lot of people who don't know me or my family have really gotten a kick out of it.
Cool. I gotta tell you, seriously, Mark, it is. I don't start another so. Hey, man, that's cool, but no, seriously, it's really special that you've done that. I think Tiki and I keep praising it for. Again, it's kind of like kind of takes you back to the days of the Dean Martin roast, but it's kind of next level. And it's a roast in the way you've never seen it before, incorporating him live on stage on the couch. I just can't get over how next level that is, man. It shows you there's a mind that could only be on JGI, a guy who knows what he's doing even by his own devices, man.
Man, thank you, Dragon. Thanks for saying that. You know, it was something I put a lot of work into, and there was, you know, whenever you're making your own work, and nobody's really asking you to, there can always be those doubts or that self-critic that comes into your head being like, oh, you've never done this before, you know, or you're not even like a big famous comedian. What makes you think anybody's going to want to watch this? All these doubts. And, you know, part of me, when I was hearing all of these no's from different people, wanted to go, you know what, just throw it up on YouTube and move on. Just throw it up there and move on to the next thing. And I'm so thankful, you know, that it's been something that you guys got a kick out of and that other friends have. And I'll tell you what, the Sipkas now, they can't go anywhere without getting made fun of, which makes me really happy. You know, like my dad said, students at his college that he teaches at, they have watched it, you know, different people in our town have seen it. Oh, it makes me so happy to know that that everybody now has at least an hour's worth of material to make fun of the Sipkas for.
Make mom walk.
I ran into somebody today. They said that their wife was pulling away from them in the driveway and saying, make mom walk, and not letting them get in. I was like, yes, may moms across America get revenge. Oh, you made me walk? Now you're walking. How does it feel, mister?
Oh, God. Okay, so Mark, one of the things that I really appreciate about the family special is the fact that you tie everything together really well. Like, it's a very well-constructed act. There's a lot of kind of loose ends that get really wrapped up by the end of it, especially the storyline regarding your mother. And that's one of the things, like, you know, like Drag and I literally talked about it as if you were weaving a story. So what were some of the challenges of constructing an act like that? What were some of kind of the loops you had to jump through to get everything to match up as well as it did in the actual finished product?
Well, thanks, Tiki. I think a lot of the preparation came from, and the organization and the order of it came from, okay, I'm going to go through and make sure I've got, you know, the best stories I can find of each member of the family. And I tried to organize it. I remember I had this gigantic set list, probably the biggest set list I'll ever have. And it was, you know what, we're going to cover the brothers. Let's cover Phil and Steve. Let's get the brothers here. And then, you know, Elise had a little bit, because Elise is a sweetheart and is innocent and has never wronged me in any way. The sister-in-law, she gets out of this pretty innocent. And then
we get some cheerleading jokes with Elise. That's about
yes. And then I wanted to move towards Dad, and then I wanted to finish with Mom. You're right. Nice. The hero that has something to do with all of this. You know, she kept this whole crazy train running, and And so I really went just by family member mostly. And it was really tough to narrow down which stories to share. But you know what really helped was I remembered a lot of them because I just come from a family who makes fun of each other all the time. And it's like our love language, you know, and it's funny to see different people who interact with all of us at a time. You know, if it's somebody who's just meeting our family for the first time and we're all together over the holidays, I'm sure it's a strange, scary thing sometimes, but it's almost like each time we're together, we have to remind each other of all the embarrassing things we've said and done throughout the years. And then we can't wait for the new strange, embarrassing thing that somebody's bound to do or say when we're together. And so it was just a lot of stories that I remembered growing up. And as well as my mom kept a journal of all of her favorite stories that took place.
Perfect.
And so that really helped too, sort of get dates and times and when certain things happened and who was involved. So she's witnessed all of this. Sometimes I just turn to her and I'm like, Mom, how did you put up with all of us? You are the toughest person I know for being able to put up with my dad's constant ridiculous jokes and Phil and Steve, just these animals that you've raised. So I really wanted to finish with her getting the last laugh. And so that moment, that serious story at the end is one that, you know, what's funny is that one and the story of my dog, Fergus. Those were two ones that I had gotten mixed notes about. People went, I think this might be too sad, Mark. This might bring the energy down. But something in my gut just told me I gotta keep these in. These two sad events in my life brought about what I still think are two of the funniest things that had happened in my life. And so I'm so glad I kept them in because those two stories, the one of my mom getting sick and the one of my dog dying, are ones that people
dying and being put into a trash bag kind of there for a few months.
I seriously, that's just one of those like stranger than fiction type things. Like I couldn't even imagine living with that.
Gosh.
Tim Sipka's a good man, but still, you know, there's moments that kind of make you wonder. You know, it's like is Tim Sipka lulling us all into a false sense of security? But he does teach math really well. I mean, could he be that smart?
I know. I always joke, Dad, are you sort of a tamer Walter White? Like, what's going on here, man?
Like Walter White meets Chevy Chase from National Lampoon's.
Oh,
you know,
that is perfect. That is a perfect combo. That is totally him.
Clark Griswold meets Walter White. Sure.
Oh God.
Right. But speaking of
all right, so really quick on like horrific animal stories, Mark. One of the things you might remember this from the podcast we did on the special, but you know when you talked about beta fish, bro.
Beta fish.
I of course have a horrific fish story of my own, which is that me and my sister we want to fish at the fair, and we got really into it, and we were like, hey, we should get some fish friends for this fish. And so what we ended up doing was buying like 50 feeder fish and stuffing them into a fish bowl. And the result in the morning, not very pretty. Not very pretty.
Of course, I've likened it to Tiki essentially caused kind of Schindler's List meets Finding Nemo, essentially. Kind of like, because apparently there's like one fish just kind of wandering there, kind of the
The worst part of it is that there's one fish swimming around in like the sea of dead fish.
Pretty much like I could have saved more, you know.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
When you turned the lights off and went to bed at night, you didn't witness the killing spree that took place.
Exactly.
It's just that one little red fish just kind of swimming around.
My goodness. God. That little fish ninja just snapping necks in the water, man. That's crazy the power those things have.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Real quick,
wait, Mark. Just to get it out there, do you want to just do a quick plug of exactly what the Special Family Special is about? And I have a link to it in the video description for people to check it out.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thanks, Tiki.
Yeah, sure.
So if anybody wants to watch the special, it's called Mark Sipka, My Special Family Special, and it's on Amazon Prime. So if you're a Prime member, you can stream it for free. But also, if you don't have Prime and you just are a regular Amazon member, you can also rent it for as low as $1. So it's available for rent and purchase. I think purchasing it is $5. So I would love for you guys to watch it, and if you love it, please submit a review on Amazon. It really does help a lot. So far, we've had over 100 reviews, which makes such a difference. It's been really neat to see the support that people have given. And if you feel like going above and beyond, you can also rate it on IMDb. That also really helps spread the word about it. And also, it's one, if you're worried about language or anything, or watching it with certain ages, it is for all ages. People have sent me cool videos and photos of them watching it with their entire family. And I even had somebody watch it with their dog, and the dog was licking his crotch to my jokes. So I think that means he likes it, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's as good as a 5-star review.
Yeah, like just in this day and age of all these comedy specials on Netflix and everything, it is like borderline impossible to find a comedy special that you can actually sit down with your family and watch with the kids and everything. So, Mark, I got to give you credit, because your special is not only fantastically entertaining and watchable, but again, it's just a great kind of sit down and watch with the whole family type of deal.
Thanks a lot, Tiki. Thank you, man. And I really wanted, that was one of my biggest goals for it, was let's make stuff that I think some of my biggest goals in comedy are, let's make timeless comedy. I want you to be able to watch this anytime. And I want to make comedy that each age can enjoy. Now, I never want to water anything down. I never want to make something clean for the sake of being clean. Because I think sometimes people go, oh, clean comedy, so it's not funny. And a lot of times, that is the case. I think my goal is obviously, first and foremost, let's make people laugh. It has to be funny. My comedic voice, whether I'm writing sketches or doing stand-up, it is fairly clean. And that's not something that I try to do. That's just more my authentic voice. And I think it also was just shaped from me growing up as the youngest member in my entire family and getting together with my relatives and my brothers and my aunts, uncles, grandparents, and parents. And we would be all together, packed at my grandparents' house in the living room, and we'd be watching something like Mrs. Doubtfire, and everybody would be laughing. I would be the youngest one, laughing my butt off, all the way up to my grandpa. And it was moments like that I went, man, comedy can be really, really powerful, and it can really bring us together. And I just thought there was something so cool. Me, this little kid, and my grandpa are laughing at the same thing. This person on screen must be doing something special. And so guys like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey, they really are people who inspire me, because a lot of their work is just so relatable and has touched so many ages and backgrounds. And I feel like their work's just going to be living on forever. I can look back at their stuff from the 90s. It was my favorite era, and I still just laugh so hard. And so I want that. I want to make work like that can last, and that kids can watch and adults can watch too, and they all can love it.
Very admirable goal. Dragon, you want to transition here with the list?
Yeah, sure. Also, we have some live comments. I want to give them some shout-outs here. It came from the 90s. And Fago Rain, bet I made it. Mark, don't you
Fago Rain. Fago Rain.
Yeah.
Fago Rain. Let the Fago rain.
Let it rain. I remember you from the last chat, Fago Rain. Also, Fago Rain should totally be
subscribe to the channel, so thanks for the sub, Fago Rain.
Fago Rain rocks, man.
Don't you guys think Fago Rain would be a sweet new Mortal Kombat character? and they're
Absolutely.
like, they just yell "Fago Rain" and it
Fago
rains
Rain!
and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't die, but everything's really sticky now."
All right, so last thing with the special here, because we can't believe we could talk about the special. We already did that, so it's dedicate like a whole practically beat by beat thing on it. But believe me, it'd be fun to do that again. I want to harken on one moment, Mark. One more kind of stuck with me here. So
Yeah.
there's a moment when you were going through when you had this list that you had Phil read, like I believe the top 10 things that Phil Sipka would never say, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
So
Yes.
number 9 on number 9 on the list, I believe. Number 9 on the list was, Mark, I respect your choice to become an actor. So that got me thinking. That kind of brings me to a bit of a segue here. So I want to kind of get into like the move that like kind of the choice to become an actor. Let me start you with this, Mark. A big one I'm really curious about here. What was your Chaplin finding the hat moment of inspiration? What was your moment where it all came into focus? What was that moment where the hat just kind of came to you? Where basically that moment where it's like it's like kind of your Randy Kaufman performing in the bedroom moment. There's that moment where you're just kind of inspired. I got the chops, man. I could be an actor. Like I made somebody laugh. Like what is that moment for you, Mark Sipka? How does that get you from there to L.A., the big C, kid from the Midwest to the big city? How was all that come about from that Chaplin hat moment? Go.
Yeah, love that. So I mean, growing up as a little kid, I was afraid of the stage. I mean it. I remember, being in like the church kids choir, and I did not want to be up there. I did not want to be in any plays. It just didn't feel comfortable for me. And I do remember I think it was middle school when I got into Elvis and I started watching Elvis movies and his performances and being like, whoa, this guy is super weird. He's doing whatever he wants and he's just being himself and people are loving it. And he sort of inspired me to enter my middle school talent show. I did this Elvis impression and I lip synced to Jailhouse Rock and did the dance as him. And I had some friends dress up as girls. I don't know. I didn't just have girls do it. Ridiculous. And it was so fun. That was the first time I had gotten onto a stage and felt like just this excitement. At first I was so nervous, but then as soon as I heard people laughing and cheering, it just lit me up. And after that, that still wasn't like, oh, let's become an actor. I knew I loved making people laugh ever since I was a little kid. When I saw Steve Urkel on TV, I was like, this is my hero. I dressed up as him 2 years in a row, 3rd and 4th grade for Halloween. I loved that guy. And I think I just loved people who weren't afraid to be themselves and who loved making people laugh. And once I got to high school, I was still really, really mainly focused on sports. I always thought I was going to be like a professional football player. No joke. I was like, this is going to be my future. And then I looked at my family tree and said, I'm done growing. I don't think I'm going to get any bigger. I don't think it's in the cards for me. And I had this English teacher, Mrs. Campbell, at my high school, who also was the drama teacher. And we were reading The Crucible in her class. And she said, hey, have you ever thought about taking theater? Have you ever thought about getting into drama? And it sparked my interest. And I signed up for her class. And I'll tell you what, she is my finding the hat moment. That's what I would say is it's a person, who she's not my family member. She's not my friend. She has no reason to encourage me at all, other than the fact that she saw something in me. And she had me do the play. We did speeches. She taught us improv, and she also had us do these plays. And I remember, it's funny you bring up Andy Kaufman. I remember the first part that I had in this play, I was playing an old man, and it was this scene with his ex-wife, and they're at their grandson's soccer game. And the voice that I used that inspired me was Andy Kaufman's character, Tony Clifton. And I loved it. I loved getting to make people laugh. You know, got to perform for the whole school, and it was also, you know, open to parents and people in the public. And I'll never forget, after I did my first play there, I was outside, and on the other side of the wall, I heard two kids who were laughing and quoting my lines from the play. And that was such a special moment for me, because that's what I have always done. I've quoted my favorite comedians and my favorite actors, quoted their lines. And so when I heard these guys doing that, I went, I love this, and I never want to stop. And so I really feel like Mrs. Campbell, she one day, I'll never forget, she turned to me and just said, you know, I think you can really do this. And that meant the world to me. It really did, to have this adult tell you, I really see something in you. And it was so motivating. And so I ever since, you know, she'll have me come back, and I'll get to visit her back at the high school. She's still teaching drama there, and I'll get to visit her and talk with her classes. And it just, she's awesome. Like, I know that she's definitely somebody who, as a teacher, goes just above and beyond. But I think she's also somebody who has no clue just what an impact she's had on so many students.
If she had a first name, it'd be Destiny, is what you're saying.
Destiny.
Man, that really resonates with me, because I also had a high school drama teacher who was very formative, and this guy also just completely goes above and beyond for his students. I still visit him probably about once a semester. And while I'm not in the comedy field, of course, Mark, this guy, I think if it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't have gotten into podcasting.
Wow, I love that. What kind of things would he do to encourage you, or like what did you really love about the teacher?
Well, specifically, the thing that I admired about the teacher himself is that it was a drama class, and he'd specifically target people who weren't into the class. And he had such an amazing talent for, basically, I took him 2 years in a row, and both times it was the same narrative, where there'd be like a few outlier kids at the beginning where you could just tell, like, these guys are just taking this for an elective. They don't really want to be here. They think it's lame, you know? And I swear to God, by the end of the year, both times, these outlier students were some of the most, like, into it out of the entire class. And he just had such a great, I mean, I was always into it, right? Like, he didn't really have to push me per se, but I think it's just his influence, like, as a teacher, as just like a guiding light. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I really appreciate how he, like, kind of just saw potential in people, like you said, even if they didn't see potential in themselves. I don't know. Basically, the long and short of it is that drama teachers are awesome.
Yes, they're game changers. You know, like, think about that. What about the students that go, you know what, I like sports, but I'm not going to do them after high school? What about the students that go, man, I'm not really good at math. Science doesn't really feel right to me, or like history or English. Like, what about those kids who don't fit into those categories? I think it's neat when a drama teacher can see it in you before you do, and they pull it out of you. And that's a game changer. And I love that he inspired you to do podcasting. You know, what a great way to reach people. And I mean,
the podcast came like a few years after I graduated, so he didn't like directly push me into it, but he did push me into pursuing my passion. You know what I mean? Like, like out of high school, I took college theater for a couple years. I didn't really like it because it was a little too cliquey for me, but that's a whole different story. That was probably more about the student body and the actual, you know, school than it was about the merits of college theater. But you know, he really, every time I would visit him, he'd be like, "Hey, Tyler, like, how's you know, like, are you finding, like, he wanted me to be a writer too, and writing is definitely, like, I have a whole novel completely outlined in a comp book that I still keep around. Like, writing was my big thing in high school. I haven't done it in a while, but basically, you know, it'd just be like this whole big sort of back and forth where every time I'd visit him, he kind of like encouraged me. And then like, I remember when you know, because I basically I started up this channel basically as like a means to an end of like keeping track of stuff. You know, it's a little hard to explain, but when I actually started to branch out and do stuff like entertainment-based podcasts, movie commentary, stuff like that, he was so thrilled about it. And the fact that I was actually getting subscribers, and you know, like right now we're under 1,000, so we're not in the big leagues by any stretch, but you know, the 720 something subs that I have, it's like Dragon and I, we absolutely just kind of like scrapped and saved for that over the years. But I'm sorry, Mark, this isn't about me. This is about you.
But seriously, that's something to be proud of. And I'm sure a teacher loves to see nothing more than a student going for exactly like what they are dreaming.
And just finding an area that it's like, yes, podcasting. That's perfect.
Yes. And you're doing something different too. You could be just following a predictable path, but you had a passion and you followed it. And it's like, and it's cool that you have that constant voice of encouragement coming from him going, keep going. You're doing the right thing. Follow that instinct. Because, you know, we can doubt ourselves all day and line up a million reasons of why to not start a podcast, why to not create a video, why to not write that script. But it can be absolutely just something so special and encouraging when you've got somebody who says, keep going.
So
speaking of mentors.
Yeah, thank you, Dragon. Perfect transition there.
Speaking of mentors, Mark, I found out something about you that definitely garnered my interest in a big way, and I'm dying to learn a little bit more about this if you'd kindly indulge us. I understand you studied under the great and incomparable Jason Alexander. George Costanza for the millennials and the kids out there. George Costanza.
Yes.
But seriously, Jason Alexander does tons of voice work. I mean, the guy's been all over the place. That guy's an actor's actor. I mean, my goodness. Tell us about him. But, well, how the heck did you come to study under him? What do you got for us?
Man, I saw that he was going to be teaching this all-day acting session, and I signed up instantly. And let me tell you that, like, this guy is the real deal. The amount of work this guy puts into each project is amazing. It's inspiring. He led us through all these different ways of breaking down scenes, and he gave us so many just insider tips, and he was so open to us and such a humble guy, you know, for somebody who has so much to brag about, being on one of the best TV shows of all time. I mean, he was so kind to us and so hilarious. Like, there was a scene, I'll never forget, there was a scene that an actor was performing, and at the end of it, Jason wasn't being mean, but he turned to the class and said, now can anybody tell me what was going on in this scene? And we couldn't really tell, you know, like, it wasn't that this person was a bad actor at all. It was just sometimes as an actor, you know, we're saying the lines, we're up there, but we're not communicating clearly. And he demonstrated this exercise where he got up there and he did the scene using no words. He did this scene and you knew exactly what was going on based on the emotions he was bringing, his posture, his eyes. It was so impressive. And he really reminded us that, you know, it doesn't necessarily matter what you're thinking. It matters what the audience is seeing. So you need to make sure that you are showing it. You know, you can conjure up whatever thoughts you've got, but if we're not seeing it on the outside, then what does it really mean? And I remember he he shared this great example of this guy who won. I think he won some award doing theater, and everybody was raving about his performance because he transformed into this old man who moved so slowly and so gently. And when this guy was asked, what was really your method? What was the secret behind you really bringing life to this old man character? And he said, I don't know if I'm exactly quoting him correctly, but he said, I imagined that my my testicles were made out of very thinly spun glass.
Oh, God.
I was like, that's this guy's key to bringing this character to life. He's got glass balls.
It is quite ingenious when you think about it, though.
Right? I mean, if it works for you and we see it, I'll tell you what, that's pretty great. There's a genius to that simplicity. And so that workshop with Jason Alexander, I'll tell you what, was one of my favorite days out here. It was early on, a couple years in, and I just remember furiously taking notes throughout the day, but also just really having even more respect for him, walking away feeling really encouraged by him and inspired, because this guy is, like you said, the actor's actor. And man, he deserves every opportunity he's gotten. And what he did with the George Costanza character, I mean, he's a goofball, but he has layers. And I'll tell you what, that kind of character is somebody that we're going to be laughing at forever. Obviously, we still are.
All right. I've seen him on recently. It's been really good. That he's just been really great on these little guest spots. He was on Young Sheldon as an acting teacher.
I've got to check him out on that.
And he was really good. He has I think 2 or 3 episodes where basically he's teaching. Basically he's putting on a show of Annie, and I won't spoil what happens. Just say it gets really hilarious. And
okay,
there's a Halloween episode with him, and on the Orville, I believe it's a recurring part. Basically, I believe he took over Ralph Garman's part on the show, where there was this bartender character. And I believe he's kind of I think he does a little bit of karaoke on it. Basically, it's kind of like he has makeup on, so it might be hard to tell. It's like kind of this green alien kind of bartender karaoke guy. So that's kind of who he's playing. It's really good stuff. Again, I absolutely agree with this. He's not exam. It's always fun to see him pop up, man. You're getting quality work. And again, next level thinking, that guy as well. So I can see where it rubbed off in places on you, sir.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah. He's just going to keep doing great. He's one of those guys who's never going to stop working. It's very clear that he's somebody that is so talented, but also such a great person as well. Like that guy, very clearly just a lovable person.
Sure. So let me ask you this, Mark. So entertain our flight of fantasy here. Okay, so in the maybe the distant, maybe not so distant future, if there were a JGI biopic in which you were,
it's happening. It's happening.
I know. I'm trying to keep.
Not in real life, maybe until the distant future, but on the podcast, the pitch is happening.
So far, we're looking into. Maybe we're looking into. I don't know. Maybe a little actor by the name of Jason Segel to play Mark Sipka. But point being, Mark,
you're going to have somebody older than me play me.
It's a work in progress. It's amazing. There's CG. You've seen what Marvel can do. You don't know. Anyway, Lola needs money too. Anyway, my point is, in that you help flesh out some of the biopic that kind of fodder here, if you will. How did you come into the JGI fold? Regale us with how Mark Sipka comes into play, how he meets, what's kind of the of Mark Sipka meeting Joshua Thomas and the gang here. What's
oh man, I remember meeting Josh Thomas, Alex Poncio, Sagar Sheikh, all these guys doing improv in Hollywood. I was doing improv several times a week at these different free workshops, and I ran into these 3 guys from Texas who had just moved. We moved here almost around the same time, same year 2012, and I just went, whoa, these guys are funny. These guys crack me up, and they were just cool guys. I was like, we became friends over those months doing improv together. And Josh had expressed to me that they were starting up a sketch group. And so I came to this meeting, and it was the meeting when they were deciding what the name was going to be. And so
the famous Pixar lunch of Just Giggle It.
Yes.
The Wall-E lunch. It's the Wall-E lunch.
And that's it. We all met, and that was when this thing was launching. I think they had shot the one with Yuka, because we met at her house, and
912.
Yes, they had shot 912. Like, I think they had already done a couple sketches already, but it was so cool to be invited by these people who I already thought were hilarious, to be invited to be a part of it. And so that's how I got involved and met them. Was we were all just doing our thing, making each other laugh, and it turned into something more.
A few live comments I'd like to go through kind of correlate with some of the Just Giggle stuff, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just kind of shout some people out here. Okay, one by a fellow Just Giggle collaborator, Katie Garland.
Katie!
Here's a little question for you, Mark. Who was Mark's favorite co-star in Just Giggle? That's coming from Katie Garland. So, and as we know with Katie Garland, we don't deserve her. So again, be very, very careful about this. Could Poncio could interrupt the very space-time fabric of this podcast, and if Mark says something unflattering, it's like, you don't deserve this. Just like I'm pulling a photo of Katie Garland. So just bear that in mind.
Oh man, what a loaded, wonderful question. You know what? I have to say, and I'm sure it won't come to very much surprise, but Joshy Thomas, the Grand Slammer himself, is somebody who I'd have to say is my favorite co-star. Just working with Josh, whether it was like Jackie or my two brothers, it felt so easy. I think our sense of humor, we have very different senses of humor, but we both get each other very well. And he writes his sketches so well and really knows my comedic voice well too, I think, which helps. And he really does feel like a long lost brother to me. He really does. Cause I always tell him, I was like, you could be an honorary Sipka with all the ways you make fun of me. Cause I love it. That's the side of a true friend. You can make fun of each other and you know that they still love you at the end of the day. But yeah, Josh, man, Jackie was really the first one him and I just got to do together, and we shot it so quickly, and we were just cracking each other up, making each other laugh. And that guy, I'll tell you what, I love him a lot. And he's just a real, he's an innovator. I think he's that guy he's a hustler, man. He wears a lot of different hats and he wears them well. I know that it is hard to do all of those things that he's doing, but he's been doing it consistently and just getting better and better throughout each year. But also, like, Katie Garland's awesome. I mean, come on, Katie, I love you too, and that you're hilarious as well. But sorry that I said Josh.
Well, you might, let me hit you with this, speaking so glowingly about Joshua Thomas. You may or may not want to rethink your tune after I read you this one from Joshua Thomas. All right,
Oh,
this question is, can you please tell us more about your improv days, specifically with the team Free Snacks?
Okay, Josh Thomas, you know what? Honestly, my favorite co-star is probably Piper. Really, I mean, Piper and I, when we're on screen, it's magic, And when we made Randy and Sandy, that sketch was so much fun. and when we recorded our singing, that was so great because Piper is an actual really, really good singer. And so she had to purposely sound bad. You know, she was a perfect Sandy Newman. But, you know, Piper and I, she's played my mom. She's played my date, the Miss Teen USA pageant winner. You know, we've played girl hosts together. We've done it all. So Josh Thomas is dead to me. Do you hear that, internet? Dead to me. But to answer Josh's question, Josh is alive to me. He's undead. He doesn't like when I'm funny with other people. You know, it's like he's my comedy boyfriend, and I never asked for one.
He's your chick on the side.
he's my comedy side chick. That's who Josh Thomas is. But I was in several different improv groups. One of them was Free Snacks. I was in another one called Business Casual. I was in a handful of improv groups. But I was in one called Space Jam with Josh Thomas. And that was the one I was in the longest. It was Josh Thomas, Cara Durrett, and Alex Poncio. And we performed over at Second City in Hollywood. And I'll tell you what, these guys, that was my favorite team to be a part of. Each one of these people was like pee your pants funny. I mean, it was hard not to break on stage. Each one of them broke me on stage, and we would challenge each other. We would give great gifts to each other. We were such a good team, and I really loved getting to play with these guys. And we would compete in this improv cage match where two teams would face off, and the audience would vote for who they think's funniest at the end. And we went undefeated. It was so cool. We still have the Second City all-time record. We broke it, maintained it, and then they ended up retiring the show. And so just so Josh knows, I still love him. But you know what? Like, see, just like that, like one of my brothers calls me out while I'm doing a live interview.
Yep. Oh, he's got another one, which we'll definitely get to later, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, you just let me know, just let me know, negative or positive, what his comment is, and I'll be sure to adjust my thoughts about him, whether I give him compliments or criticism.
Well, to be fair, I'm like 80% sure it's Joshua Thomas. It's just kind of just Giggle it on the whole, but it sounds like a Joshua Thomas question.
That completely is.
So that's the thing. I mean, why don't we just give it to you now, just to kind of cut out the suspense. Okay, so the joke today. Okay, so why? I'm gonna try to put some emphasis on this one. Okay.
Oh my gosh!
Why, Mark? What did we do? Why did you leave us? You know what? Fine, go. It's not you, it's me. It's essentially kind of that's kind of general vibe you kind of get from it. But pretty much that's it for word for word. So it sounds to me like a Joshua Thomas question, but I could be wrong. Could be kind of Piper on off day. I don't know.
No, see, Piper's got it together.
Like the bitter ex-girlfriend.
Piper.
You know, Joshua Thomas is the bitter ex-girlfriend, not Piper.
See, Piper, Katie, all the Just Giggle It members, they're even-tempered, wonderful human beings. Joshy Thomas, I'll tell you what, he needs to get it together, okay? Because you know what? We've talked about this, and he's got my phone number. We hang out in person, okay? And if he wants to hash out all this TMZ drama on the air, he's gonna have to look for another fight because I don't know. I don't know, guys. Gosh, does Josh really want to know? Does he really want to know?
Well, there is a challenge that well, you can assume there was a challenge posed of we know the answer. We want to see what he says.
See, Josh Thomas, I think he would mimic having a cigar in his mouth. He'd take one puff out of it and he'd go, Mark Sipka wants to do clean comedy. and I always would joke back with Josh. I go, and Josh Thomas likes to do boobs and butts comedy. Which isn't fair. It's not fair. Joshy doesn't just make boobs and butts comedy.
Well, there was a sketch called Breast Fun, so you're not far off.
So thanks for having my back, Dragon. You're right. He does complete boobs and butts comedy.
Of course, there's that whole a sketch that you were in. One of the greats that you were in. Of course, showcases. Again, this is the biggest thing I got out of the my family special thing. The biggest kind of fan thing I got out of it was in the Darkest Hour podcast. I believe you have Josh Thomas playing the brother, just kind of assaulting Poncio's character, and basically you come in with the big laughs as the unseen mother. I call it. I hope you don't take offense to this, Mario, but I kind of nicknamed it the Mama Sipka voice. Basically,
no, that's not offense at all. Only offense to Mama Sipka, because for some reason I use that voice to imitate her, but she doesn't sound like that, and neither does any woman, I hope.
Again, though, it's just, I got such a kick out of it because when I heard that, then I heard you doing your show. They basically I put two and two together, like, oh my god, that's the sweet origin of the voice that we heard there. And of course, then we get to the big revelation at the the kind of the big ace up your sleeve move at the big ace up your sleeve move at the very end of the special. It's like, oh my god, this is a beautiful narrative. We're learning so much here. This is great.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, that woman voice, I'll tell you what, it can. It's a gift and it's also a weapon. I love. There's something about it. I always would play a woman a lot in these improv shows we did. I would play a woman a lot in those Just Giggle It sketches, like the morning wake up. I was laughing because when I sent it to my parents, and Piper and I are both playing these girl talk show hosts, and I remember my dad's response was, don't they have other girls in the group that could have played that part? I was like, yeah, but isn't it funny that I'm a girl? And he's like, I guess.
No.
I'm gonna issue Mark Sipka a silly challenge, not for here, of course, because I don't want him on the spot. So I'm just saying, in the future, if I see if you can workshop this will prove Mark Sipka's impressionist skills to the odd infinitum here. It's like a challenge that may or may not ever get filled because it's so ridiculous. I wouldn't hold him to it by any stretch. But I'm just gonna throw it out here. You're a Farmiga Norma Bates. You look into it, Mark. You're going to be very happy, and if you can pull that off, that's like the next higher level of the woman voice.
If I can do the Norma Bates,
if you can do Norma Bates, Vera Farmiga, one will worship you more than we already are now. But secondly, that's the higher form of the woman voice. You have it's trust me, it's just you look into it. You'll have a lot of fun with it.
All right, I'll do my research. I'll do my best work.
Like Norma Bates Motel. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, Louise Brooks, 1920, has dropped by and saying, "Hi, Mark."
See?
Hi, Mark.
Yep.
See? Will we ever know? Is that her as Tommy Wiseau, or is it just a genuine hi, Mark?
The world may never know.
Yeah, Tommy has changed the world for all Marks everywhere. We can never be greeted the same way again.
I think honestly that's absolutely true.
Yes. Also, iconically Wayne in the comments says, Mark, what's your favorite Just Giggle It sketch you're in, and just favorite overall?
Oh man, that's really tough.
Well, you got two bites at the apple here. Like one that you're in and one that's just overall. It's just kind of giving you a little leeway here.
Okay. Favorite Just Giggle It sketch. Man, I really love Jackie and love that, just the simplicity of that sketch. And of course, performing it with my sometimes favorite cast member, Josh Thomas. But I really loved Randy and Sandy too. That's one that, combines my love of working with Piper, who is absolutely hilarious and, is so versatile. And it's that love of impressions, of Randy Newman, of singing, of all these old goofy songs. And man, that was such a fun one to write too. So I'd have to say those two.
All right.
Okay.
Of course, I love the Randy Newman one as well. And Mark, one of the things that you're known for as a comedic voice in this industry, if you will, is your incredible array of impressions. Let's hit on that for a while, Dragon. Unless we have anything else.
Well, we have one more. Then basically, it's kind of pretty much be free range. Just get back to the get back to where we're going here. But real quick, it came from the '90s. Has a question. We'd be remiss if we glazed. There was a big one for you, Mark. What are your top tips for writing comedy for film, or just in general writing comedy? Let's just say, have you dabbled in like any, I guess, film or sketches on the whole? There, so kind of broaden it a little bit. But what are your top tips for writing comedy?
Sure, I would stress first and foremost, give us something original, surprise us. You know, I mean, I'm all for a funny parody of something. I think there's obviously great ways of doing that, like just Giggle It, creating the amazing Harley Quinn and Joker series, like that is so impressive to me. And I think, so if you're gonna do parody, if you're gonna do something, go all out like that. But yeah, first and foremost,
You think I'm tacky, Howie?
So I'd say, yeah, first and foremost, be original. Surprise us.
Get lost.
And I'd say too is like start follow through. Really, I think there's something so rewarding when you show up for yourself. I think when you're creating something and nobody's asking you to do it, it's easy to sort of let yourself down and never follow through with it. Or sometimes people shoot stuff and they never even put it out. But I'd say see it all the way through the end. See it all the way through the end of the process. And I'd say, if you're writing it for people in particular, really write it in your friend's voice. Like if you're writing it for a friend, put it in their voice, and just also leave a little bit of room for some improv. And on the day when you're shooting it, some great things could come up. Obviously value the writing. Do those takes as close to your words as you want, but let there be an improv take, because honestly, you'd be surprised at what gold could come from it, especially if that person that you're making those sketches with, those videos with, has an improv background. They can bring some great things to it. I think that's what has made Just Giggle It such an awesome group that has lasted so long and has grown and has just made such consistently good and funny content. Those people in there, they're terrific actors, terrific writers, producers, and they all started with that improv backbone, and they keep using it. That's my favorite way of using improv, is using it on set in front of the camera, because then it gets to live on forever on screen, what makes it to the final cut. So allow for some room for some unpredictable improv lines. And I really think you could create something great.
All right. So let's rapid fire some impressions here. Of course, Mark, we're not going to be the guy saying dance monkey dance, but we're just going to run down here and maybe get some thoughts here stuff. By all means, if you want to throw a voice, it's your call. But again, we're not going to whip you after a long day here. So, okay, so one that really interests me, I love your De Niro impression, because it keeps reminding me of Analyze That, just kind of like some fun De Niro.
Man, thanks. I've always thought about creating something as De Niro. One potential thing I've thought of is, what if Robert De Niro had his own food review show, but he only reviewed bacon, and it would be called Bacon with Bobby D. And he would review different bacons each week, and
I would legitimately be so down for watching that.
So here's the thing. Here's where you have some great logic here. Because one of my favorite parts of Casino is I loved it. See, I just love the mundane semantical stuff. I love De Niro's running a casino, his kind of day-to-day operations. I love when he gets so harangued, he's focusing on all the wrong details, like the ratio of blueberries in the muffins. They have kind of a breakfast correlation there with the blueberry muffin to breakfast to bacon.
Yes, and I think he could rate each one. It would either be good or pretty good. So good, it's pretty good, or not bad. That's good. You know, that's it.
If you can do a Pesci or a Scorsese, you can pull some kind of Mark Sipka demo reel magic and it's kind of construct a little something there.
Yes, Pesci is, I think, the level of confidence that everybody wishes they had. You know, like, you're the shortest guy in the room, but nobody's going to mess with you. You know, like, you could walk in there and you just walk in. I own the place. Are you kidding me? Who is this? I'm Pesci, baby. You know, like, he's got the goofiest voice, man. But I love Pesci. I love him in Goodfellas. Love him in Casino, the Home Alone movies. Pesci cracks me up, man. He's an inspiration to all us short guys. Of course, you know, might not want to show his stuff to kids because you might have a lot of short kids stomping other kids' heads in, Goodfellas style.
Yep, I mean, just do whatever. Kids, I'll give you a little word of warning. Never say the word "shinebox" around a Pesci fan. Never around a short impressionable Pesci fan. Never do that. Okay, let's see. Of course, speaking of the kind of the Goodfellas and the De Niro of it all. Basically, I always kind of wondered, like, you know what? Because considering you do a De Niro and you do also a remarkable Pacino, the whole genesis of another Joshua Thomas grand slam. Genesis
grand slam.
Bang, baby, slam out of the park.
Okay, we pull some demo reel magic here, and we can get kind of the scene from Heat. Sipka on Sipka, the big. Michael Mann magic.
Well, I've been doing this new impression with Pacino at shows where it's Al Pacino during Any Given Sunday when he's trying to give that halftime speech, but he forgets his lines and just has Taylor Swift lyrics stuck in his head. Okay, ready?
Oh my goodness!
Now we can either heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. 'Cause the player's gonna play, and the hater's gonna hate. I'm just gonna shake it off. Shake it off. Oh, wow. Pacino.
Oh goodness! Okay, so of course I know you do an excellent Tony Clifton, and now what I didn't know is that you also did an equally remarkable Jerry the King Lawler.
Yes, man, I love those guys. So Clifton, I got really into when I was in high school and watched Man on the Moon.
My grandfather and I, we love Man on the Moon, but especially Tony Clifton. We're constantly, still to this day, we're quoting Clifton line. It's like, it has been an honor and a good meeting. You know, all that, like, a shotgun blast in the face.
I love that line, man. He's so good. Bob, what's your last name? Up and down the water? Bob. And he made me laugh so hard. I started playing Tony Clifton in college. So I would host these comedy shows at my school, and I would come out and I would play Tony Clifton, and I would try and sing a song with the band, and it would be an absolute disaster. I would shout at them at how much they were just terrible, and then I would go out into the audience and heckle them and interview them and tell them to shut up, you know what, your mother. And it was so much fun. It's almost like, oh, you know what? I've got these glasses on. I've got a painted on mustache and sideburns. I can say and do whatever I want. It's not Mark, it's Tony. And so, man, I love Tony Clifton. My first performance as him, at my college, Anderson University, I went and did a Tony Clifton sings Christmas carols. So I remember singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I sang Silent Night. Silent Night. I went, Silent Night. Holy night. It's just terrible. And Rudolph was like, thump buddy, thump, thump, thump buddy, thump, thump. Look at, oh no, that's Frosty. Look at Frosty go. I just love Tony, man.
By the way, all of our talk of impressions have it came from the '90s and Stitches, and if he's who Tiki and I think he is, I think we have a reason. We know why, because he's also an impressionist on the side. So you know, you're definitely tickling his funny bone and definitely giving something to shoot for.
Oh, all right.
So something Tiki and I are dying to know with Randy and Sandy. Before I know Tiki, there's one person Tiki's dying to know about. Before we get there, there's one other question. One thing, because we're also dying to know about this. So in regards to Randy and Sandy Newman, I got to know, is, as an actor, of course, many times an actor will kind of inform their own backstory, whether it be canonized or not. But I got to know, man, in your mind, what is your backstory for Randy and Sandy Newman? Because I'm of the mind that they're like Randy Newman met an impersonator, met a female Randy Newman impersonator, and they kind of hit it off. That's what I like to think it is.
What man. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll be honest. You're thinking too deep. You're thinking too deep. This is as
Mark,
deep as
I have
we go.
even deeper origin for Randy and Sandy Newman. I'll hit
Yeah, his is more ridiculous.
Oh shoot! Okay, well hit me. You got to hit me with that one now.
Okay, so my origin story for that is that the Missed Connections couple, the Miss America couple, you know how basically they bonded over their like weird like speech impediment like wraparound way of answering questions and everything. So it's like a couple bonding over a weird speech impediment type thing. And then years later, Randy and Sandy Newman. You
guys are awesome. But I'll tell you what, you're both too smart for your own good, man. This is as deep as you need to go. I think Randy Newman has a goofy voice that I'm in love with. And I thought, what if a woman sang exactly like him and he married her? And that's it. I thought, what if Piper and I got together and sang a bunch of songs way out of key? And honestly, man, recording those songs with her, singing as Sandy, I was crying. We were losing. Oh my goodness!
That Piper Henson's just one of those people in life who's just a little too talented. You know, she's a little too perfect.
You're right. She's good at too many things. It's unfair, and she needs to share those talents with somebody else. Natural. Okay? Yeah, she really does do so many things so well. She's extremely talented.
Speaking of ridiculous amounts of talent, little mister, let me run this by here. So, rarely in life will you run across an impression that one is just great, but one that you can do in kind of two eras of a man's life. Now, Tiki, you hit him with what impression I'm alluding to here.
All right. So, my dad grew up. He raised me right, Mark. He raised me listening to 60s music. So, you know, you got your
yes.
You got your Beatles, of course, Beach Boys, all the good stuff. But one of my favorites was Giggle, Mr. Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan is one of those kind of like impression icons, right? Where it's like, I feel like he's like, there's so many layers to a good Bob Dylan impression, and it fascinates me. Because, of course, as I've seen illustrated in some of your improv stuff I've watched, you have both a young Bob Dylan, he's kind of like this, this sing song, kind of like, kind of hip, groovy guy.
Yes.
And then you've got the later Bob Dylan. He's just trying to just shocked that he can even still sing at this point,
Yeah.
So, can you speak to that? Like, do you love Dylan as much as I do? And
dude, I love Dylan too. You're right. You were right. The people who I do impressions of, man, I am a huge fan of. It is in love and admiration. Dylan is one of those guys. Like, he's he's a miracle that he performed. Like, this guy's voice has been heard by so many people and criticized by so many people. And his voice has changed more throughout his career than anybody's I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, like, I mean, I love his younger stuff. You know, when it was, you know, well, the times will come up when the winds will stop. Like, I love the young Dylan, but there's also like this strange Dylan, you know, when he got into like the Lay Lady Lay, where it was almost like the colors you have when you're not, you know, and Lay Lady lay across my big bed, where you're like, whoa, what is this? And then, you know, when he gets into like the Not Dark Yet, where it's like, not dark yet, but it's getting there, you know, and he's shadows are falling, and I've been here all day. You know, it's that deep, deep Dylan.
That's like the throat scratch of the old man Dylan down.
Oh man. I do love that Not Dark. Like, there's something to love about each stage of him.
He constantly has a frog in his throat.
Yeah, man. I'm just waiting to ribbit, you know, and he's got that deep voice. Did you listen to any of his Christmas album where he's like, must have been Santa Claus?
No, honestly, the last like current Dylan release that I listened to was maybe about 10 years ago, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the dude is making music, you know, he's churning it out there. And I got to go see him in concert a couple years ago. And I'll tell you what, half the fun was, as an audience member, trying to guess what song he's singing right now. And I've never gotten to do that at a concert before. Like, is that Tangled Up in Blue? What is this? Tangled Up in Blue.
Tangled Up in Blue.
Only one morning the sun was shining.
Love it.
All right, to show that the man does believe that the man is not a god here, the comedy god. Let me ask you this, Mark. What is the best and worst impression that you do, in your opinion?
The best and worst, man. I would say, I think the one that I get closest to getting spot on is probably the Louis Armstrong one. It's really the first one I realized I could do.
Yeah, Armstrong's a really good one.
Louis, I love him. You know, it's one that shreds your voice.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
But you know, like, it's one I really learned I could do, and I discovered my love of musical impressions when I was on a cruise ship with my best friend growing up and his parents. We took this cruise, and every night they had karaoke night, and I went and sang "What a Wonderful World."
Always brings down the house. It can never fail.
It just was so fun because it's that iconic song that is just so wonderful, and I love Louis' voice. You know, I love people like him that have, and Dylan and Randy, all these guys that have weird, unique, special voices. I hope that music takes a turn back to that. I don't know if it's been like all these musical competition shows. I don't know what it is, but maybe there's like a desire to have a perfect voice these days. But I think there's something more admirable about having a unique, non-traditional voice. Because you'll notice throughout history, those people that have these voices, we're still listening to them, and their music is still so great. You know, Sinatra had it, Bing had it, Billie Holiday had it, you know, Bob Dylan, Elvis.
And the great thing about like, all these voices, like, down the line about all these voices is that all of them were imperfect.
Yes. Perfect is not what we're looking for when we're looking for music. I don't think I've ever been like, you know what? My favorite album is this one because it's just technically perfect and every note is right. And no, that's why, I mean, a lot of times the people who are popular impressions are people who are unique. I mean, I don't know anybody like De Niro. I don't know anybody like Walken, Jeff Goldblum, you know, Louis Armstrong. These guys are, they're, you know, you do impressions of them because you admire them so much and because they stand out. And honestly, it's easier to know whether you've nailed them or not because their voice is so consistently unique.
Now, speaking of impressions, I would like to segue to quite an impression you made that also involved a splash of Kevin Bacon. Now, let's talk about your "Let's Make a Deal" appearance.
Oh yeah, that was one of those days where at the end of the night when you hit the pillow, you go, "What happened today?"
Did I just have a fever dream? What happened?
Yeah, Wayne Brady was there. Footloose was playing.
I gotta ask, Mark. Because this is the first thing that sprung to mind when I watched this clip. Are you familiar with the Chappelle Show Wayne Brady episode?
Yes, it is one of the best.
God.
One of the best by far.
Yeah, absolutely. And me and my dad, we adore Chappelle's Show. That's our favorite episode of the show. And I gotta tell you, man, when I saw you up there with Wayne Brady, I got a little starstruck. Like, I'm going to be interviewing someone who impressed Wayne Brady.
Man, well, when I went there, I just dressed up in my red tux. That's just my goofy suit. I wasn't dressing up like Kevin Bacon or anybody. And I went with my buddy Trent. And the whole time, man, every chance we get, we're just dancing to all the music that they're playing. And we're just trying to have the highest energy possible.
Oh.
And they come back from a commercial break. Wayne Brady points to me and goes, "Red tux." And right at that moment, my brain just melted. And I floated over to him. And he starts interviewing me. And I'm like, oh. And I think at that moment, I realized, dude, just have fun with Wayne Brady. This guy is probably the greatest improviser ever.
Yeah, for sure. He's up there.
Embrace the moment. And so it was so cool because he sort of gifted me, as a great improviser does, gifted me by saying, "Oh, are you dressed like Kevin Bacon from Footloose?" And I say, "I can get Footloose." And then they have this piano player who he plays live music throughout the entire show, from the theme music to the mood music. Huh. Yes. And so he really sets the tone, and he just instantly starts playing it. And I just went, I guess I'm supposed to dance now in my head. And I just ran up and down the stairs dancing like a fool. And I was just loving it. And the audience was laughing hard. And Wayne was cracking up. So that made me feel good. At that point, I'm like, I don't even care if I win anything. And he was just so awesome. And then when I was done dancing, I had taken my jacket off, and I was complaining that the crotch on the pants was just way too high. It was it's this old suit, and it really does look like a matador suit. And I said that joke. We're after Wayne said, "What is it with the crotch on your pants?" And I said, "It's just so high, it looks like a bra for me. My waist is down here somewhere." I don't know what the guy who wore this before me. I don't know what he looked like, but I'm easily a foot shorter than him. It was just really, it was special to get to see Wayne crack up like that. And I had the chance to win a car. He had this game where you point out a card, and if you get that card with Wayne's face on it, then you win this red car, which would have been really awesome. But I still won money, and I went back and sat down in my seat. And during the commercial, Wayne came up to me, and he was like, "Man, you're awesome. That was hilarious."
Oh my God, you had a Mean Joe Green Coconut Smile moment with Wayne Brady.
With the reference, that's exactly what it was like. "Thanks, Mean Joe." And that's exactly how it felt.
Oh goodness me! Oh wow! I mean, like yourself to another one of the greats, Mark Sipka. Of course, you have Aaron Paul, who also made an appearance on a money pricing involved game show with The Price is Right. It was his big break on television.
Hilarious. Where I love when he's all hopped up on like Monster or Red Bull, and he's just shouting, You're my hero, Bob. I love you, man.
I'm sure The Price is Right. It was also probably a household staple of the Sipkas.
Oh, The Price is Right?
Yeah.
That was one. I'll tell you what, the Sipkas, man, when we could get the antenna to work, we would watch anything we could get our hands on. Mostly PBS, let's just say that much. we did not have cable growing up.
You got a lot of those tote bags over the years.
Yeah, most of my Bob Barker knowledge was from Happy Gilmore when he beats him up.
They're not exactly the happiest Bob Barker.
I know.
That is legitimately one of my all-time favorite cameos in any movie.
Oh, I think when a celebrity can step in and is willing to just sort of be foolish and act like a kid, I am all for it. I'm game. I will watch that. I think it's fun. People poke fun at each other.
There's an Amazon documentary I need to recommend to you, friend, but you're going to have to remind me off air because I don't want to stain it here. We'll talk after.
Oh, okay.
Involves The Price is Right. I think you're going to get a kick out of it.
Is it the guy who got the perfect, who was like studied Price is Right for all those years?
Yes, that is it. You've seen it. The Perfect Bid?
That was so good.
Yes, it was. Oh, yeah, the guy just wanted to kiss Holly. He got that and more.
I know. Dreams do come true.
Yep. So, I'll get the third act of that thing is fantastic. Anyway,
Yes.
so let me ask you this. Of course, to keep it simple, that Burger King PSA, well, the Burger King PSA, the anti-bullying, don't bully the Whopper Jr. ad you did, real or just so clever it got traction?
Real. It was real.
Oh my goodness, that is.
It was such a cool experience. At times scary because we're interacting with real people. Tommy, the other actor that was cast as the manager, we both switched off on who the manager would be each take. But man, they had a real Burger King. They wired it with these hidden cameras and microphones, and man, there were some crazy moments where you thought this customer is going to reach across this counter and slug me right in the face. And it was really fun to use improv that way with real people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Such an outside of the box way to use it.
So was that your first dramatic performance, by the way?
No, I have done some other dramatic performances. But that one, that one is definitely the most popular. And that one, I was really proud to be a part of it. You know, sometimes when you do these things, you're like, what's the finished product going to look like? But they really put together something so neat. And since then, different teachers have reached out to me, and different ones, even from my town, have told my mom that without even knowing I was in it, they have used that video as an example in their classrooms when they're teaching these anti-bullying lectures. And I thought that's so neat that this commercial that Burger King made could be something that is, not an advertisement for burgers at all. It's this great message that we need to hear.
Yeah, it's about the abuse of sandwiches, Mark. It's a real epidemic.
Yeah, Whoppers are being abused, people. These poor Whopper Juniors.
Yeah, where is the disclaimer about no real sandwiches were hurt in the making of this commercial? That's what I was missing from that.
I'll tell you what, man. That's because that would have been a lie. There were sandwiches getting slugged, man.
So you went method for the role, essentially.
Oh my goodness, did we ever?
Were you guys backstage, beating up the Whoppers yourself, or what was the process?
Yes.
Was there some fight choreography? Was there?
We did all our own stunts with the Whoppers, man. No, it was.
Imagine you hurt your hand after a few takes.
Oh yeah, you're slugging meat. It's like Rocky Balboa, just with a little less cow. But man, what was neat too is just seeing how people responded, and you go, "Oh man, I hope that I'm the person who does the right thing in this situation." And there were several people that stepped up and stepped up for those kids who were getting bullied. But man, people who got mad about their burgers, they got mad. There was one guy who I remember he was looking me dead in the eye, and he sort of turned to the crowd and was like, this kid's serious. You guys hear him? This guy's really serious. Bullying burgers? Are you kidding me? And
it's a whopper of an interaction, to say the
least. He was losing his mind.
And Mark, I gotta say, as someone like I did get bullied pretty hardcore. One particular school year, I was lucky that basically I had a very shitty school year, but like after that, it was like kind of like, okay, after that, after 6th grade, it was like, all right, smooth sailing from then on out. I was very blessed. I had an awesome high school experience, but 6th grade was a mess for me in terms of bullying.
Man,
and I gotta say, man, like the ad is very compelling in terms of like, yeah, that is what it's like. That's what it feels like to just see people pass you up when something is clearly wrong with you, when it feels like the whole school is against you, Yeah. So I like, it's funny, the whole jab of like, oh, the Whopper, you don't actually bully Whoppers, but the message behind it is genuinely on point. It really is.
Yeah, Burger King, they've been doing some really cool spots, and so I was really thankful to get to be in that. I had a blast. Everybody on there was such a pro, and I'm glad that thing is still being shared and having an impact on people.
All right, Mark, I just want to check in with you in terms of time, because we could very easily keep this thing going, but
we could shorten it if it'll help, because I know we're running close to.
Oh, that's okay. We can finish up with whatever you guys have planned.
Okay, well, let me hit you with this thing. This is one really
like, hey guys, I need to get to bed. Whatever. Just feel free. We can pull it at any point. Because honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. We probably, Dragon, what do you say we might have another hour's worth of material?
Well, I mean, again, Mark, let me ask you this. So, are you familiar with the show Freakazoid?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh my goodness, it's one of the best animated shows ever made. The point being, it's animated
right at the start of our career podcasting together, Dragon and I did what was it, Dragon, a 4-hour podcast?
Yeah, we literally went through every every episode of Freakazoid, and that's 26 episodes, because we had and that's broken up into vignettes. So it's the point being, it was one of Steven Spielberg's animated shows, one of the Amblin shows. So it's like, for me, like when I grew up, my shows were Batman animated series and Freakazoid, like back to back. So that's the point is a lot of passion on Freakazoid. So we kind of geeked out about it for just conversationally. They kind of blew up into covering the whole series. That's kind of literally just how that went. But again, that's just I use it as a joke, as a point. Compares like, we look, if we really want to, we can go really long. But obviously, we're not going to drag on for 4 hours. But we have some fun side stuff here. But I just want to obviously get to the meat and potatoes to make sure we get that.
Right.
Well, here's one, because again, we've been covering a lot of ground here. We're kind of splicing some stuff together here. I think we're doing some good stuff there. But let me hit you with this. I want to speak to some of your other sketch comedy work outside of JGI. Specifically, by all means, if there are any more you'd like to highlight, by all means. But one that comes to mind is Melissa. I hope I'm not butchering her name here. Melissa Villasenor.
Yep, Melissa Villasenor.
Yes. You did something like Heather the Hermit, Backwards Break. You've done a few things with her. How did you meet her? How would you sell her to us, to the general people here? I've heard some impressions she does that are quite spectacular. But you give everybody the sell on her, would you?
So Melissa, I'll tell you what, not a hard sell. She is hands down one of the most talented people I've ever met, and one of the kindest, most genuine people I've ever met. I met her years ago. There was this video made by a guy named Rob Cantor, and he created what was one of the funniest pranks that I've seen, where he made this video called 29 Celebrity Impressions, One Original Song. And he had written this original song, and he put out this video all in one take that showed him doing all of these different impressions, from Randy Newman to Christina Aguilera. And you went, wow, this guy is good. This is impressive. And this thing went viral. It blew up. And this has millions and millions of views. And a week later, he released the reveal video behind the scenes which showed that he had actually cast a group of impressionists to do all of the impressions, and he was just lip syncing to our impressions. And it's so cool. If you get a chance, check those videos out, because you'll see he like adds like a cough into the video. He does so much to make it feel authentic. But he had such a terrific idea with it. He's also the guy who made the Shia LaBeouf, like this famous Shia LaBeouf video where it's like actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. Like that one blew up. That blew up too. So Rob just has such a great creative mind. But Melissa and I were both people who were hired to do the impressions on Rob's video. And so I met her on set when we were all watching it together as a cast for the first time. And Melissa and I were cracking each other up. And after that, we stayed in contact and started making these sketches together. And we would make sketches. I did her podcast, The Melissa Show, which is hilarious if you get a chance to listen to that podcast. She'll interview different people, different comedians, and she'll also sometimes just interview herself as these different characters and impressions. She's a master of the voices, man. But I appear on there as my character, Glenn Sheffield. So I am an old man the whole time. But it was a blast. And then, her and I, we made several videos. We went to the YouTube space and used their police station set and did Night Shift Fever, where we're both cops staying up really late. And, we get the great idea. You want to do it? Yeah, me too. And you have no clue what we're talking about. And then the music hits and we just throw a big dance party. And one fun one.
Like the ending of every 2000s DreamWorks movie.
Yes. Dance party. So true.
Now I got her face.
So for that one, you can get a dance party, and then there's a little something extra, a little smelly something extra at the end of the video.
I know what he's talking about. God.
And one fun one was the Heather the Hermit Christmas special.
Yes.
I gotta tell you, something kind of moving about. I don't know. I'm just a sucker for Vince Guaraldi. Maybe that's in the DNA. Maybe that's kind of the trick. Like, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe the reason you're feeling something is the music playing in the background. But I don't know. There's something kind of there. I felt there's a nice little heart to that thing.
Oh, and Heather the Hermit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Is it's weird. It's these two weirdos, falling in love and it's Christmas time, and you're right. Like it's got that heart to it, which is so fun. And Melissa's just that person who we could get together. We could bring our writing together. We could bounce impressions, bounce our characters off each other. We just have similar, playful, fun, childlike senses of humor. And Melissa, honestly, like when she got cast in SNL a few years ago, several things happened. Nobody was surprised at all. And everybody was so happy for her because she is so deserving of it. Like this girl works her butt off, has a great attitude, and is such an encouraging and helpful and thoughtful comedian and actor in this industry. And that is sometimes pretty hard to find, and I know people will say, the comedy world is a dark one. It can be depressing. Sure, if you contribute to that. But she is somebody who's a bright, bright light in this industry. And it excited me so much to be watching her on SNL, because I went, oh, what's great about this moment is everybody else now gets to see how great she is. I know it. Her family and friends know it. The comedy world knows it, but now everybody's going to get to witness this. And I'm so proud of her. This is just the beginning. She did America's Got Talent. She's done so much voiceover work. She's done so many great sketches, and she worked so hard to get on SNL. and I just got a good feeling about what's coming for her.
Speaking of Melissa's rising star, let me ask you this: how was your? I'm going to kind of backtrack into the age-old beginnings here. What was your foray? Can you describe your foray into early stand-up, like those early rough years? I presume rough years of stand-up, like when you're kind of. I presume like you've kind of gone from the. Do you start in the Midwest and then eventually kind of do stand-up, or do you eventually do stand-up when you're in LA, like when you have the Russian neighbors and everything? Like how does that? Now, the inspiration for Vlad.
Yes, I started stand up halfway through college. I went to college at Anderson University in Indiana, and while I was there, I started a sketch group with some of my friends called Business Casual. So a lot of my writing was dedicated towards creating original characters, sketches, videos, and doing these live shows. But halfway through, I really wanted to get involved with stand up. And I drove with my buddy Trent Bruce, who was another member of Business Casual, and we would go and do these open mic nights in Indianapolis. And we would go there, and I still remember my first set getting laughs, but I had blown through that set, that 3 minutes, so quickly. I didn't stop talking. I didn't leave any breaks. I don't think I took a breath, but you'll never guess what the entire set was about. My dad, Tim Sipka. It was all about him. Every single joke, every single story was all about my dad, how he hits on my mom, all his weird quotes. And
I love the changing line that he has, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Want to go upstairs and watch me change?
That's hysterical, It's just
He had a good line. He had a good line this past Christmas. It was me, Mom, Dad, and my oldest brother, Phil, sitting at the dinner table eating. And Phil is just letting out these nasty burps. And you can see it bothering my dad, but he's not saying anything. And then Phil he rips this fart. And my dad puts down his food and just turns to Phil and says, "You will never get married." So as long as Tim Sipka is around talking and thinking, I'm going to have plenty of material. So he was who I talked about during my first set. But I got to be honest, like in those early days of stand-up, and even when I moved out here, part of me was struggling in my mind with, are people really going to care about what some 20-something kid has to say as a stand-up comedian? And what I would do is I would partially, hide behind them, but also, I love playing them, and I think it's one of my strengths. But I would also go to these comedy clubs as different characters. So I would do my Cliff Cobblestone character, or I would go up as Glenn Sheffield, and I would write them stand-up routines. And I would develop those characters with those live audiences. And that ended up becoming something I really loved doing. And I've created more original characters since. And so with my stand-up, I was pursuing it as myself and as these characters for those first couple years. And then when I moved out here, I dove more into the sketch world and the improv world with my group Business Casual and with Just Giggle It. And so a lot of my writing and thinking and performing was geared towards making sketches and doing improv shows. And stand-up sort of got put on hold for a while. I went, I don't know if that's going to be my thing. And several years ago, I started up a comedy show called Mark Sipka's Comedy Review. And I wanted to use it as a way of challenging myself to write new material, to write new characters and new bits, but also as a great quality show that my friends could come to, and that people I know who are so talented could display their talents as comedians, improvisers, characters, singers, magicians, jugglers, you name it. I wanted them to have a stage too. And when I started doing it, I was coming out in the beginning, maybe saying some funny things. Maybe I would start with an Elvis impression or a character, but I was not doing stand-up. And I had the hardest time calling myself a comedian. It didn't feel
kind of the
right.
Mark, I can't help but notice your history does parallel Andy Kaufman's in so many ironic ways. I'm just sorry.
Strangely, I agree, and it is strange how much there's sort of strange parallels between myself, Andy, and Jim Carrey. But those three, us three have strange similarities.
Big Ty the Father, of course. So definitely some Jim Carrey there. Have you seen Mark? I mean to interject one answer with another here, but Jim and Andy, have you seen it? I
have seen that. It was a little hard to watch. I got to be honest. Did you sort of feel that way as a man on the Moon fan?
It, man. I never have been more excited about the release of a documentary than Jim and Andy, and I thought it was like one of the most. Dig and I were blown away by it. I think we did didn't we do a commentary on that?
I think it was a commentary, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got a huge kick out of that. But okay, hard to watch. How so?
Yeah, I think it was hard for me to see Jim not like lighting up a set like he usually would. It was hard for me to see Jim not making people laugh. It was hard for me to see him causing pain in the director's face, and causing trouble on set. Making a movie. My goodness, I know how hard it is to make a sketch. I know how hard it is to make a special. Making a movie, there are so many jobs at stake. There's so much money involved. There's so much that goes into it. So it was really hard for me to see Jim on set of a movie that is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's hard for me to see that be a painful process for most of the people on there. I think he definitely brought joy to a lot of people on there, but I think that's what was a little hard for me to watch. It obviously resulted in a terrific performance, but I wonder if it was necessary to take it that far sometimes with like the drinking and the crash in the car and
what the funny thing is, Mark? I remember when the DVD was released. I'm a big stickler for like the bonus features and everything on DVD. I love those growing up, and I'm still in love with those head over heels. But points when that came out, I remember they had like one little feature about the making of it, and they kind of Danny DeVito mentioning that Tony Clifton he carried Limburger cheese and he crashed the car. And again, I was thinking he was playing it up for like a little bonus feature. And of course, years later, Jim and Andy's being hyped up as 20 years ago they had this footage that was basically a whole documentary's worth of footage that was kind of locked away, and all this stuff actually really happened with Tony Clifton, him getting uber method into the role to become that remarkable, again, that essentially Golden Globe and big Oscar snub of a performance, where again, like why we didn't get an Oscar nomination for that role.
That's insane, right?
It is, because again, he became that character. You've heard the old audition story, haven't you?
Yes, I've seen those tapes. They're amazing watching his dedication to that character.
I mean, the fact that Zamuda was told, Milos Forman told him, like, don't hire anybody, just see Jim Carrey, get like an audition tape or something from him. He gives him an audition tape and basically plays the clip, and he rips open the bag where he thinks has the clip, the tape, and says, no, you've been watching it the whole time, where he thinks he's been watching Andy Kaufman footage playing on a loop, and that's what got him the job. He hired him when he wasn't supposed to. He says, no, trust me, you're going to want to hire this guy.
Man, I mean, he was born to play that part, And I mean, I'm not, I am no one to question somebody's method. It obviously resulted in such a terrific movie. But man, I mean, it's so interesting to see the mind of Jim Carrey mixed with the mind of Andy Kaufman, who has that split character personality with Tony and Andy. It's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah.
I did see one of my favorite evenings out here was my first year out here for my birthday. I went with a couple buddies, and we got to see Tony Clifton perform at the Comedy Store in I'm telling you guys, I don't know if I've laughed that hard before. I was in pain. The show was like 2 or 3 hours long. It had an intermission. Never seen that at a comedy show. Tony had the full band. It had Andy Kaufman tie-ins, depending on what you believe, if it was Andy or if it was Bob or if it's somebody else. I honestly believe Andy Kaufman pulled off the greatest prank ever, and he could still be around here. He could be popping up as Tony. Who knows? But I felt, with the, like I was saying with the comedy review, I oftentimes felt more comfortable doing anything else but stand up. And I felt more comfortable being characters and felt more comfortable doing impressions because I thought that's all people will like of me. And I'll never forget. See, it comes back to the family. My mom and dad were visiting, and they were out there for like a week in LA, and they came to my show. And I just got up in the beginning of the show, and I started talking about them and telling jokes, and it felt easy. It felt effortless. And after that show, a friend came up to me and said, "Man, I could listen to you do stand-up about your family all night." And I just, a light bulb went off, and I went, whoa, I just did stand-up. And also, I love talking about my family, and people love listening to it. So that one note really opened up a world for me, and I started coming back to that world of stand-up again.
Was that the first time you performed in front of your father?
No, my dad and mom had both seen me perform with the Business Casual group, and they'd also come and watched me. I hosted this music show called Encore in college, where I would perform a lot of live impressions and stand-up routines on stage in front of the whole school, and they would come and watch those too. So they had seen me do that, and he had seen me make fun of him in those as well. And I played a character in Business Casual called Deborah Schmelnoff, and she was the mom of this family, and it was a recurring sketch. And there was always a moment where she would be set off by her son and husband, and she would blow up and turn into Chris Sipka dealing with those telemarketers. She would go from
the
real sweet to just demon, and that was always the way those sketches would end, but you wouldn't know how she would get to that point and really blow up. So my mom one time went, "Is that supposed to be me?" And I was like, "Loosely inspired, Mom." But they both had witnessed me making fun of them before the special had taken place. But I remember another person came up to me after one of those comedy reviews, and she said, "Oh, I don't care what you do. We just come here to see you." And so that note made a world of difference.
That must have
went,
been such a good feeling.
It was, because there's times where you just feel like a phony. There's times where you forget what you've gotten to do, and you sort of cut yourself short, and you go, "Am I even a real comedian? I mean, I'm not at this level. I'm not here. I'm not this." You think about things you're not.
Oh, I long for the good days of Family Guy.
Oh, so good. And so I think some people don't realize that just, that encouraging word like your teacher gave you, or my teacher gave me, or those people, those changed the way I thought of myself as a performer. Oh, people do like just coming and watching me. I don't necessarily have to always be doing an impression or always be playing a character. They like me too. And just Mark can write funny jokes and stories. And so that was
I
really
want to
cool.
hear what you sound like, Mark.
Yeah, what's your real voice sound like?
Oh, God.
Still a work in progress. Still trying to figure it out, guys.
Basically, you were like a little Peter Sellers, weren't you? It's like you had no idea what the kid really sounded like. It just kept doing these moves.
I love Peter Sellers, man. That's another comedic hero.
Does your dog bite? I thought you said your dog did not bite. That's not my dog.
We always grew up. My dad raised us on Pink Panther, and he would always grab us and go, "Kito, this is not the time. And then he'd go, this is the time. And he would judo chop us.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Yes.
When
you've got balls.
Or he would grab our fingers and go, Pepe. I love Sellers, man.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Okay, let me see if you could illuminate us on a few things here. So I want to try like maybe to get back at Joshua Thomas a little bit for some words he said earlier.
Yeah,
here. Okay, can you speak to a sketch that's locked away in the old Joshua Thomas Prince vault? I believe it's called Sign Dancer, basically the realtor sketch. Where I believe.
Oh my goodness!
Give us the inside Skippy on that. Just the spite the old man Thomas.
This was one of my favorite concepts that I want to see it. I think I played a woman in this for sure with very strange hair and like a weird woman pantsuit thing. But it's all about it's like I think it's like sort of mockumentary style about a sign spinner. And I just think it's one of those ones that was such a terrific idea. And I can't remember why it didn't get finished. I don't know if there was one other thing that had to be filmed or if something happened with the footage, but I want that thing to see the light of day. One that I will definitely get back at Josh Thomas for, because it is from the beginnings of Just Giggle It, guys, all the way from the beginning. Josh wrote a sketch called Mark Sipka's Demo Reel.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of my favorite ideas that he's ever had, not just because it's all about me, but it's hilarious because the concept of this sketch is, an actor's demo reel showcases their best scenes, usually with other actors in the scenes. In this, I play every single part. So there's like a bank robbery scene. I'm the robber and the guy getting robbed. There's one where it's a scene where a guy is proposing to his girlfriend. I'm the guy proposing and I'm the girlfriend. And there's a kissing scene where I kiss myself.
Oh, God.
Was
that like
ridiculous?
Work, I presume.
If you didn't, here's the thing: if you directed it, then you would have been a narcissist for sure.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Like, geez, this guy is a big fan of himself.
Literally.
But that sketch, get on Josh for it. That sketch has been shot. That sketch is just waiting. And I told Josh, you know what, man? You're holding on to a gold mine there. You got to release that,
Mark, if you ever break into the vault and you find it, you know what you got to do? You got to upload it. Yeah, right now, I believe you have something like you have Mark Sipka's demo reel. You got to have Mark Sipka's real demo reel. The real reel, man. Or real spelled REAL,
Yes, I love
the real Mark Sipka actor.
The real.
I'm going to hit you with some nerdy video game allegory here. You ready?
I'm ready. Bring it.
All right, so Mark Sipka's demo reel, the Just Giggle It version, is the original Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2. And then the demo reel is the Doki Doki Panic Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh, dang. Deep cuts. Your favorite pizza's probably deep dish.
Mark, you have any idea what I'm talking about right now with the Super Mario Brothers 2?
And your favorite hobby is deep sea diving. I totally know Super Mario Brothers 2, but have no clue what the second reference was.
Okay, well, I won't bore you with the details, but basically there's a real Super Mario Brothers 2 and a fake Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh, shoot.
It's a whole thing. I don't want to bore you with the details.
But pretty much, Josh is the keeper of the real Super Mario Brothers 2, and I've just been shopping around my fake one. That's what I think.
All right.
He's got the real.
Any Nintendo fans watching will know what I'm talking about.
All right, so let me speaking of Joshua Thomas, let me hit you with some Harley Quinn and Joker here. So like overall, I mean, you've seen the 5 episodes, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so let me ask you this. Of course, like Tiki and I, we've watched it a lot of times. We plug it nonstop. But let me ask you this: because one episode 5, we get to 1 million views, so we get episode 6, and vice versa. Trust me, folks, some plans there. After you watch this, go watch Harley Quinn and Joker episode 5. Get up to 1 million, share it, spread it around there. So we get episode 6 and more. Anyway,
priority order should be this, then Special Family Special, and then Harley Quinn and Joker.
Yes.
Yes.
Rule of 3, folks. Rule of 3. Don't break it. So, anyway, point is, so overall, like, what are your like? So I know if you want to dive deeper in like kind of the thoughts of Harley Quinn and the Joker, but also like I want you to, like, in your opinion, where would you like Harley Quinn and Joker to go? Because right now, obviously, we're at 5 episodes, soon to be 6. But I mean, beyond the like, what broad spectrum, what do you want to see done in Harley Quinn and the Joker?
Man, I mean, I really feel like they're going in a great direction with it. You know, like they. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So it's when we can hear you.
Oh, I really think it's going.
Sorry, I'm just unmuting my microphone right now, just so you can have the floor. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that the show's going in a great direction. You know, I think they have terrific characters in it, and the storytelling has just been awesome. I still love the one where it's like the montage where it's the Joker and his son, like the slow motion, man. Like,
oh, Danny boy.
I think I'd love to see more moments like that. Just like, but see, like they're bringing it. You know, Josh is writing all these great moments that, you know, he's just coming up with. You know, like I love that he sort of dove into this world as these characters we know, but he's playing as them. You know, it's, I think, more of that, and you can't go wrong. If we as performers can get back to, you know, playing dress up, you know, reaching into the costume box, pulling out a bunch of stuff, putting it on and playing. And obviously they're doing way more than that. But what I love is there's a serious tone to it. There's a playful, fun tone to it. There's that comic booky, cool feel to it. And it's all shot so well. And man, I just think, I think that they should just keep this thing going. As long as they're having fun with it, as long as they're enjoying it. I mean, we see that, right? As an audience, we can see them having fun and playing. And Josh as the Joker, he's killing it, man. Like he dives head on into that role, and it cracks me up seeing like behind the scenes stuff. Josh will be, directing, and it's so clear that he's forgotten that he has like all this Joker makeup on, because he looks so evil and sinister, but he's just like giving nice notes or being like a really nice guy. But man, he's shown me some behind the scenes clips of this upcoming episode, and I'm telling you guys, it's gonna be great. I can trust that. It's just gonna keep getting better. I honestly just think the episodes have gotten better as they've gone on. So I'm really proud of what him and the whole Just Giggle group have done, because they're utilizing their strengths. And I mean, their overall strength is funny. They're just funny people, man. And they're even funnier when they're together. And that's hard to find. So I'm really proud of them. They're doing great things over there.
Nice.
All right, let me hit you with a big one just to make sure we get it in here. Okay, so this is a big one I got to ask you. Do you plan on doing a Christmas or a Thanksgiving family comedy special? I'm just saying, considering how you did the last one, I mean, I'd imagine like playing to the holidays might be, kind of like the next logical steps. Any holiday plans for another kind of like Sipka family reunion?
Well, I don't know if I would do necessarily like another. I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe. I mean, there is a lot of material left and a lot of stories that could be told. So, I would never turn that down. I don't know if it'll be this year or the next, but maybe somewhere down the road we'll get to catch up with the family again, because some things have changed. Steve and Elise, they have a baby now.
I heard about that. Congratulations. How recent was that?
Thank you. They had that baby last year. Her name's Frankie, and she is just the sweetest. And so that's the newest addition to the family since me. So the Sipkas went a long time without adding to the group. So
maybe some baby next gen comedy. Who knows?
Yes. Or maybe, if Frankie starts doing and saying a bunch of dumb baby stuff, I'll make fun of her too.
Oh, Mark Sipka making fun of babies.
Yeah, makes fun of babies, ruins reputation completely.
And punches burgers.
Don't get those confused either.
Punches burgers, makes fun of babies.
You guys would have cracked up, man, when my parents and I were visiting Steve and Elise for Christmas. We're opening gifts, and my dad bought baby Frankie this book called Intro to Calculus for Infants.
Oh my God, yes.
How is this a real book?
Oh, Mark, I will pay you. I will legitimately pay you to do like a stream where you just come on as Tim Sipka and read that book cover to cover.
Well, remember, one of Mark's various characters is legitimately Tim Sipka. No joke, folks. I'm not just saying it's him doing an impression of Tim Sipka. I mean, he literally is. He becomes Tim Sipka.
Yeah, I transform into the man himself.
The doozy of a parlor.
It's kind of like a weird astral projection process.
Where's the line? Where's the scene splitting the two? This has to be footage of some kind.
As soon as I put on the fake stash and the weave belt and the penny loafers, I transform into him.
Literally stepping to the shoes of the man.
I am. And the check shirt, like that performance at my comedy review, he had no clue I was going to call him up on stage. And he had no clue I was dressing up as him. And I was wearing almost the same exact outfit.
If he had a jacket, you would have been twinsies. You would have been.
Exactly. The guy is the check shirt master.
I have no doubt.
So, Mark, the name of the channel is, of course, So You Want to Be an Imagineer. Armchair Imagineering is what we're all about, creating ideas and stuff. So I've got an idea for you, my friend, for a holiday special, all right?
Oh, send it over.
All right. It's called the Mark Sipka, My Special Family Thanksgiving. Literally, the pitch would be like, all the drama, like how Thanksgiving is infamous, is like the time of year where it's like, all right, we got to get together with the family and we got to do the weird, awkward interactions. And so my pitch is to literally be the first comedy special to be a Thanksgiving dinner. Film it.
Oh my God.
I love it.
I did not.
Okay, film it on Thanksgiving, have it all on stage. Have the whole group there reunited. Maybe even have baby Frankie in the mix.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to go over well. Hot stage lights and an infant. Sure, let's see how that goes.
I'm just saying.
Give me a stunt baby, man.
She heckles me, man. I'm throwing her out.
Tim Sipka would, of course, have an honorary seat at the head of the table. And it'd be like the My Dinner with Andre of stand-up specials.
Yes. Dude, that is genius.
Is it gonna...
Seriously, there would be so much room for fun in that. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sure baby Frankie would heckle me. I'm sure somebody would fart, and my dad would say, "You pushed it. I can tell the difference." And
yelling at a baby, I can imagine it.
Oh my goodness, and also it would allow us to do our Sipka family tradition at Thanksgiving, which is we get up on we weigh ourselves on the scale before the meal, and then after the meal we weigh yourself again, and you compete to see who gained the most weight.
Like the Biggest Loser thing, it's like you measure out the weights by the end. That's kind of the big audience reward. You've watched them literally gain weight before your eyes.
This is an impressive feat, and the winner gets those giant, like our grandparents used to have, the giant wooden fork and
Yeah,
spoon.
Yeah.
So we could do our family tradition right there for everybody.
Oh God.
Guy Marie Barone. Fork and spoon.
Yes.
So, Mark, I'm going to throw just a very broad kind of like Yoda-esque question at you, my friend, kind of like a meaning of life question. All right, you ready?
The meaning of life, you ask.
All right. What is the secret to good comedy?
I think the secret to good comedy is surprise. When it comes down to it, you know, if we see something coming, we're not laughing, right? Like it is that element of surprise that hits us and causes that laugh. And I think also
Adam Sandler is not funny anymore because he continues to do the same stuff that he did in the 90s.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes with some people,
the problem's more is going on vacation during all of his movies. I thought that was the problem, but
I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, that's what's crazy is there's, you know, Sandler gets criticized a lot for it, but he's, you know, at the end of the day, he's making it happen. You know, he's producing comedy. He's creating his work. He's working with his friends. He's, you know, he may be going to these exotic places, but he is, you know, doing his thing. And there's people that love it. You know, there's an audience for each. There's an audience for everybody. And I really do think the secret is like holding on to what makes you special too, like what makes you a true original. You know, not going off of like, oh, well, this worked for this person, so I'll try my version of what they do. We don't need that. You know, we don't need the next anybody. We need the first this person, right? The first insert blank. So I'm inspired by other comedians, but I don't want to be like them. I'd love to have impacts like other comedians. I'd love to have the impact of a Robin Williams, of a Jim Carrey. But you know, like taking off of them, I think what makes them so special to me is a complete lack of fear, and a childlike approach to it. They were so goofy that they caused everybody else to be goofy too, you know. And why do we love them so much? Because they made us feel so great, and they made us feel like we could do and be anybody. You know, these guys molded their faces, their bodies, their voices. I think what I'll take from them, like what makes a great comedian, I think, is 100% commitment. Those guys, nobody's ever going to criticize those guys for giving less than 100 when they're on that stage. They probably went to bed each night and woke up the next morning and felt like they just got done with a football game. And I love that. And I respect that. And I would love to bring that to the table, and really strive for greatness by doing that.
All right, a little shout out for Generation Productions. In the comments says, "Hey guys," but "hey" spelled H-A-Y. Just want to put a little kind of emphasis on that. Anyway, real quick, okay, Mark, I'm gonna hit you with this. Okay, what do you think drive? This is gonna be kind of a petty one here. What do you think drives your improvisational abilities? I mean, like, is it like? What do you think at a core kind of drives the improvisations? Like, is it like kind of a self-critical nature? Is it like, are you trying to rewrite the line? Do you want to experiment, just have some fun? Like, what is it to you if you have to look deep on it?
For me, what drives me with improv is, you know, like it's really the closest thing that a comedian gets to do to, to like magic almost. You know, I don't know another word to use, but there is something that I know for me puts me on the edge of my seat a little bit when I go, whoa, like they're making this up right here. For me, my favorite way to use improv is on set, in character, in front of the camera. I just love it. I feel so I feel that freedom, like I can't do anything wrong. I mean, I'm playing this other person, so I'm not me. So whatever I say is right, and I love that, and I love that you can create that magic right there, and people can watch it forever, and I also love doing my original characters. Like one that's one of my favorites in recent years is the Tad character, where I created this character because I found this sweatshirt that had the Wizard of Oz cast sketched on it. And one day I looked at it and just said, Wizard of Oz? And I just thought, what if somebody thought Wizard of Oz was the greatest movie of all time and wouldn't accept anybody else thinking otherwise?
Oh my God.
Like my mother on steroids.
Okay, I don't want to turn this into an entirely different conversation, but Wizard of Oz has its merits, but I've never really loved it.
I mean, it's not my favorite. I really enjoy it. I love the classics. But what's fun is looking up and memorizing all these facts about Wizard of Oz and being
I will agree, the history behind Wizard of Oz and kind of like the weird urban mythology, all these dark urban legends about it. That's what draws me into Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Not the actual movie itself.
I love its place in Hollywood, and also I love Greg Delisle's his voice for her Dorothy voice, where she's I just want to go home. Oh, gosh, it cracks me up.
Yes, man. I mean, that's why it's fun to play somebody who is so firm and set in their ways just about one thing. He has one layer. He thinks Wizard of Oz is the greatest. And so I became a nerd about Wizard of Oz. And a lot of times when people play nerds, they're sort of like pushovers. They get bullied. They get knocked down. But with Tad, he is like the most powerful, confident person in the room. So what I do is, as Tad, I present my case for why Wizard of Oz is the greatest movie of all time, why it got robbed by Gone with the Wind in 1939.
Yeah.
And I also present one of my favorite moments is when I say, during the 1939 Oscars, Victor Fleming actually won for Best Director for Gone with the Wind. Did you also know that Victor Fleming directed Wizard of Oz? That's correct, folks. Victor Fleming directed Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz in the same year. So I guess you could say the only person who could beat Wizard of Oz is the man who made Wizard of Oz. And it's such a fun moment because it's like, oh yeah, I'm really getting him. And then in the last half of my set as Tad, I open the floor up and I always say, this is not a safe space. Your views will not be respected by me. And then I let people throw out movies that they think are better. And I just roast them. And it is so much fun.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that idea.
It's one of my favorite things to do. And there really is this feeling of like, oh man, I'm just making this up on the spot. And I can just come up with these fun jokes, and I feel like my mind just works in those moments when I am the character and when I'm playing with people in real life. I feel like that is my zone, and I love being in it as these different people. So it also helps me grow the character too. Because I'm letting the audience have some power. I love giving them some power, giving them some voice. Because a lot of times people, they don't like audience members talking during their show. I really love it. And I love playing these characters because it combines my stand-up love, my sketch love, my character love, and my improv love. That all my worlds combine when I get to do that. So that's what I really love about improv. That's what really gets me excited. And at the end of the day, the motivation is the Patch Adams mentality. When I'm with how I do my comedy and how I want to create my movies and TV shows in this industry, is I want people, if it's a show, movie, whatever, I want them to feel better after experiencing the comedy. I want them to feel better than they did when they walked in or when they clicked play. Treating the audience like, hey, thanks for being here. I don't know what traffic you just put up with before you got here. I don't know what kind of day you had, but hey, you're safe with me here. You're in good hands for the next half hour, whatever. Sit back, relax. I'm going to take you away from this cruel, dark world. I'm going to take you to a world where there is no news, where there is no division, and let's just come together and laugh. And it's that comedy hospital, Bring your sick, bring all you in pain, and let's make you feel better. So that's really my goal when I'm up there trying to make people laugh. I want to take you somewhere else, and we'll create our own little world together.
It's kind of like that Rob Paulson quote, that laughter is free, and the best thing is you can. I'm probably butchering this right now. Laughter is free, and the best thing about it is you can't OD, and it's I think it's just basically it's like you can't OD and it's free. I think that was the gist about it being laughter. The point is laughter being the best medicine. It's kind of
I like
really
that.
It's how he ends every one of his podcasts when he did the Talking Tunes podcast. I believe he's migrated to Nerdist, I think. But anyway, basically kind of celebrating kind of the comedy and the laughter and kind of the joy that all the stuff that he and his voice acting, compatriots, other performers, great performers like Brad Garrett, like all sorts, like not only great stand-ups, great actors and great performers, and guys who wear many hats. And again, I think the great Mark Sipka here is also kind of cut from the same cloth, one could say.
Thank you.
Mark, I got one. Take it away. Think should we move to the final question, or
bring it? Bring me the final question.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you with the final question. All right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's wrap this up with let's stick to it on this one.
Because I don't want to bore him with like the
final question.
I'm not going to bore him with our name Better Call Saul questions because we know he's a fan. But even if he wanted,
we could literally do a whole 3-hour podcast just about.
Just give me a yay or nay on it, Mark. It's been on board all day. So is it? Yeah. Do you watch Better Call Saul?
Love Better Call Saul.
Man after my own heart. That is the perfect answer in this universe, friend.
I love it. I love Better Call Saul. I love Breaking Bad. Amazing shows.
Basically, as season 4 was airing, pretty much every night after I watched the new episode, I'd come onto my Facebook and just be like, this show is literally redefining how to grow a character and how to tell a character.
Yes.
And then he and I would recap it beat by beat on Judging Saul, our podcast. We talk about all the episodes about it. All right, okay, but seriously, okay, last question. I believe we could have a whole love fest, and it's.
Yeah, like I said, 3-hour conversation, easy.
Mark, the two characters we reference most, the two actors and characters we reference most on this channel, just no matter what context, for some reason they just keep coming up. It's Patrick Fabian as Howard Ham. We will mention Howard Hamlin left and right, and Vera Farmiga as Norman Bates. So those are the two characters that come up most for us. But. Anyway, so Mark, Andy Kaufman, it seems to be kind of an odd Andy Kaufman theme to all of this. I'm just going to end it there. So, okay, Andy Kaufman, of course, his big career benchmark, kind of the height of heights. Less wrestling women, the real height of heights, at least as the movie frames it, is Carnegie Hall. It was a huge moment for him. It's kind of the zenith of Andy Kaufman, like all the joy that he put in the world, along with the confusion he put in the world. It's like everyone's just kind of having a good time, milking cookies after the performance. Like it doesn't get any better than this, Mark. Broad spectrum in the future. Because I know you said you want to do some stuff, some characters. You've alluded to maybe some interest in broadening into film, perhaps. But again, sketch comedy, the Mark Sipka comedy review. So, like, what in the end of the day, what's your career benchmark? What's your Carnegie Hall? Whether it is the actual Carnegie Hall or otherwise, like in the broad spectrum of all that could be in the future. Where do you kind of place yourself as that career benchmark of like you can tap the rafters, like I did it, that sort of thing.
I would love to be making comedy movies for a living. That is the dream. I want to bring character first comedies back. My favorite comedies are 90s comedies. What they did that I think was very special is they would an entire movie would jump on a comedian's back and follow them for an hour and a half. And, like 1994, Jim Carrey did Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and The Mask.
Yeah. 3
comedies that are just terrific, man. Hilarious comedies. And what I love about those ones is like a lot of them is they are based around weird character in a pretty straight world. Weird character, normal world. And I think once we got like the 2000s, we stopped for some reason making those character first comedies. And we sort of switched it to this is a normal leading person and the characters around them are weird, or the world around them is weird.
It does feel oddly topsy-turvy now you bring that up, yeah.
Yes, and I would argue in the past 20 years, we have not churned out the memorable, iconic, timeless amounts of comedy that we did. I feel like comedy is not getting the respect. It's not getting the effort that it really deserves. Comedic movies, they say, oh, they don't make as much money. They don't do this. They don't do that. Tell you what if we strove to really make them truly original? If we really had memorable characters, not just one-liners, not just this, not just that, but like think about that. Think about all the 90s movie quotes we can think of from comedies, and then try and think of that in the 2000s. Other than Anchorman, there's not a lot that I can see. And I want to change it. I want to bring that back. I want to take my original characters, hop into them, and see how a movie would play out as them. I want to like think about like great SNL sketches of all time. What do you call them? You're like, that's the Matt Foley sketch. That's the Farley sketch, right? That's the
the day of Coneheads. Like where's the day of Coneheads?
Yeah, and I want to bring that back. I don't want to be the guy who's only talking about the past as if that was the best. Like, let's make this the best right now. And movies like Mrs. Doubtfire, like that movie I love. I just watched it again. Austin Powers, terrific movies. I really love those, and so I want to make those movies. That would.
I miss the era of the Albert Brooks era. We have like that main person driving the film, but we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know what? I mean, we love comedians so much. Why don't we let comedians play?
I feel like comedy in movies has become a lot, like maybe a little too meta for its own good.
Yes. I think it's a risk thing. I think they're just afraid of taking the risk of like putting it all in the one person. Because I think the last time, let me put it this way, Mark, I think you're making. First of all, I'm just trying to stop myself from geeking out completely here and just saying I'm just going to kissing up the Mark Sipka. I think he's hit upon something that just kind of blew my mind entirely here that I never thought of in my life. It's like, oh my God, he's right. Man's a genius. How did I never put that together? But on the side of that, I would like to acknowledge that I think it sounds to me like what's happened is there was a time when they were trying to do that sort of thing where we have like the one. Basically, I think last time we've done a film that centers around that comedian as the cell. It's like you have your kind of your really bad era within the mid to late, let's just say like mid 2000s, like leading up to 2000.
Love Guru era,
Guru, and I'm specifically thinking of a guy. I think it's Chuck. Good Luck Chuck. The one with Dane Cook.
Yes.
Good Luck Chuck. Yes.
That one. That's what I'm specifically thinking of. Where again, you have a comedian you have someone of notoriety. Where again, you're selling it on that person. But again, I think it's kind of equating what Mark's saying here. Where again, we're playing him as kind of this straight guy. And again, he's not really funny. He's kind of a guy in a really weird situation that again definitely wouldn't play today anymore. But it's just kind of a weird. We're playing him in. in kind of a weird world in a weird situation. That might kind of signify kind of the beginning of the end of sort of like we're getting the big name. We're not putting the faith behind it. We're just selling kind of like just kind of a generic comedy. And
you know what's interesting is that
Adam McKay seems to be our only hope for this sort of thing, and right now he's kind of getting more into kind of the really cool biopics, but we're kind of drifting away from kind of the Anchorman, the other guys.
A lot of comedians are doing dramas now, and I'm never going to knock somebody for making their own career choice. You know, if that's your passion, follow it. You know, but like we are so low on comedy right now.
Yeah.
That the movies nominated for best comedies are dramas.
I mean, Kitty and Barry are phenomenal shows, but by the same token, you know, we are kind of lacking just the straightforward. The only straightforward comedy I can watch on a regular, just kind of that makes me laugh as hard as Mark was laughing during the. So I'm trying to think back a little bit here during the Tony Clifton, the Tony Clifton show you attended. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. To me, that's the funniest thing I watch on TV. It's like injecting Joker venom into my veins. It's like that. It's like, oh my god, like it laughs so hard, like I think I'm gonna die sometimes watching it.
See, and we need more of that. We need more. It's a comedy. That's it. There's nothing else. It's just a comedy.
Yep.
It's interesting because I think in this day and age, like a lot of like the past 15 years or so are movie comedy. Like I'm not saying this is like the only people out there doing it, but it's kind of like the definitive people doing it. And that's Seth Rogen and his crew.
Yeah. That's primarily what we're getting.
And they essentially play themselves in every movie to the point where, honestly, my favorite movie that they've ever made of them is also kind of like the peak of like this sort of weird, like meta, no actual characters thing, which is This Is the End. But the thing the interesting thing about This Is the End, though, is that even though they're literally playing themselves, I feel like they're playing more heightened characters in that movie than they usually play in their day-to-day. Like, oh, I'm Seth Rogen, and today I'm playing Ben and Knocked Up. My character name is Ben. Oh, how you doing?
Well, Mark, let me hit you with this. So last year, when Tiki and I, we do our kind of our years. Kind of at the end of the year, we kind of list all the movies we rank them. Kind of like what's the number one spot, that sort of thing. And in the accounting of all the movies I saw, you bear in mind, I don't see as much movies as Tiki does, because Tiki was born under a quasi-lucky star. When, at least in regards to movies, he's born under the lucky star. He can see all the movies he wants. But
well, the reason why is because there's a movie theater literally within walking distance of my house, so I'm
geographically, Tiki is blessed more than
ever. Oh, beautiful.
But point being. So we make a list, and I kind of, when we were making our list and we were kind of listening to what we had, like when we were kind of figuring out the order and stuff, I kind of had upon the realization. I forget it was like while we were doing the list, or if I just hit the realization when I had them all listed out. I was like, man, I really didn't see that. I saw little to no comedies, like in straight comedy movies, where again there's funny stuff in the movies, but again, no like a straight comedy. It was like
Game Night to me was the best comedy of 2018, and that that rested almost exclusively on the shoulders of Jesse Plemons.
I could not agree more. I went to see Game Night with Josh Thomas. We were cracking up, and the whole theater was too.
Moments in that movie, just I couldn't breathe.
Absolute gold. I could watch that all day.
That's what I'm saying. I think like that, and then retroactively, one I've gone back to since. Like I finally got a chance to watch Tag. I mean, and that came out in 2018. So like those are the only two like really main comedies of 2018 that I guess I had seen, and I agree with it. Basically, Game Night, it's a great comedy. I can't really measure it against anything because nothing really kind of jumped at me.
I just don't think it's like, I think in 10 years we're still going to be looking back on that Jesse Plemons performance from Game Night. Yes. I don't really think Tag has anything that's going to be really memorable or really hit the pop culture consciousness.
Well, you see what I'm saying? It's kind of a shame there's not like more like something that kind of get you out to the theater to see a comedy that's just gonna like kind of make you see and kind of add more, kind of invite you out to like have a good time and just kind of get you back to that feeling like, hey man, Anchorman's coming. Why don't you go see that? Or,
of course, Lord and Miller are definitely
I'm saying like Lord Miller and McKay are kind of like the comedy pillars, and again, for the most part, they're kind of branching into other things. Because Lord Miller was kind of they're trying to get a franchise off the ground, where every time they get involved in something good, they're either bumped to producer or something happens to them. But again, they're doing good work. Nothing against Lord Miller. They're doing great work. But again, someone keeps getting in their way. Again, Adam McKay is doing great work that involves comedy, but you know, he's getting a little away from the straightforward comedy like the other guys. It's been a while since he's done one like that.
Yeah. And
the other guys is still. I would go back to Mark. I tell you, I mean, you've seen the other guys, certainly.
oh
right?
man, I watched that with my family. My dad was weeping. My dad was absolutely crying.
My
during
favorite
the other guys.
My favorite bit. Oh god, I love that so much of that movie. There's my favorite bit still to this day. It's his bit with Keaton. Keaton's hysterical in that movie. My favorite bit with Keaton is you know, at the end, you know, when Alan's been shot and everything, but you know, he's like, no, someone get over here. He's dying. He's dying. In fact, he's wearing a bed bat. Oh god, it's that line. Just oh my goodness. But yeah, it's wonderful.
It's so good, man. We need more of it. We need more funny. Period. You know, like we're getting it a little bit on TV. You know, Larry David is still doing Curb, and I love him.
Not frequent enough, but he's doing Curb. Yes.
Yes. You know, there's another season coming, and I think Rashida Jones is doing a really cool thing with Angie Tribeca. That cracks me up. I was a big Naked Gun fan growing up.
Yeah, I love Naked Gun, especially the first one. Yeah.
Yes, and so
Ricardo Montalban. Oh my goodness.
She's bringing that good stuff to us, and I'm just wanting more. I'm ready for more.
I mean, right now, the only comedy I'm really again, aside from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the one that I finally got caught up on because Tiki and I kept doing the holiday specials, and I kind of sat down. I'm going to watch from start to finish. You need to get caught up on Goldberg's, which of course features an impression that you do.
Yes, Jeff Garland and my Jerry Lawler are very similar. You know, like Larry David. Oh my, he's got him on the ropes. You know, they sound very similar. But another one I would highly recommend if you haven't seen it is Schitt's Creek. I think that is.
I've heard it's really that good, eh?
It's got Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, and man, it's terrific.
I mean, the other one,
Chris Elliott's in it too.
Occasionally on Netflix, you have a few like Santa Clarita Diet, but again, that's a little bit complicated. It's funny, but it's also a lot of dark comedy where you have like a woman who's eating people. So you know, it's
right,
kind of in the middle there somewhere. But it's funny. It's not maybe not ha funny, but it's funny though. It's, you know,
yeah.
Tim Oliphant kind of losing his crap. You know. It's...
All right.
Anyway, so yeah.
So, folks, I think we've pretty much stuck to landing on the season of Sipka. Mark, thank you so much. You've given us almost 3 hours of your time, a little over 2.5 hours of your time.
Oh my goodness!
We hope we haven't zapped too much of your life away from you. We're terribly sorry.
No, I mean, what was I gonna do? You know, sit at home and fart? No, come on. I mean, it was seriously an honor and privilege getting to talk with both of you guys. Tiki, Dragon, you guys are awesome, and you're doing a really great thing here. And I just appreciate all the encouragement you guys give me, and thanks for taking the time to watch so much of my goofy stuff. You know, sometimes you go, man, I hope people are really getting a kick out of this, and it really makes me happy, and it's really fulfilling to know that you guys are enjoying these goofy characters, these videos, or the special. And so I just want to thank you guys a lot for all the nice things you had to say.
All right, Mark, to end things out, I kind of want to throw a hot seat question at you.
Okay.
All right, so we had Henson Month. We had the season of Sipka. Mark Sipka as the star of the season of Sipka. As the
I love where this is going.
Of the season of Sipka. Who do you think should be... Oh, and we also had Poncio Month as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, Mark, you got to give us your best Poncio also before you go to give us, your best Poncio.
Poncio!
Yeah.
So, Mark, after, can't say Piper Henson, can't say Alex Poncio, who do you think we should tackle next? Who gets a season, Mark?
Oh, my.
Who's season worthy to kind of frame it under the Seinfeld context?
Who gets the season? Oh, my gosh. I mean... Are you guys gonna finish it with Joshy Boy Thomas?
Well, we kind of figured that season 1 was kind of Joshua Thompson's.
Well, Josh is everywhere. He's kind of like he's always editing. He edits all of them. It's like 80% of them anyway. He's always
he gets enough. Forget Josh.
No, we love Joshua Thomas. So let's again. We're waiting. We'll love him even more when he does some of that Nick Cage Superman stuff. We'll love him more when he does that.
I think you guys should go with Katie Garland. I think
Katie Garland. Okay.
it should be the something with Garland. If you could come up with some fancy way of using Garland.
I think we might be able to pull some stuff there. I think we'll definitely again. Now here's the thing. So again, I believe we worked in You Don't Deserve This for Poncio. Poncio. I think, but sometimes retroactively you want to kick yourself. You're like, oh my god, it's all about how great Katie Garland is. Now we can't do that. But we'll think of something. We'll definitely. So again, Katie Garland's been. Stone for Katie Garland has been cast into the JGI fire, as it were.
I say bring it on, man. I think Katie she's so fun on and off set. She's just that naturally funny and can deliver lines in such funny ways too, and bring that. And she plays such a great character too, and Joker and Harley Quinn, and
I love that Back to the Future joke in Heightened. Remember the whole
Yes.
I love the perceived irritation that Joshua Thomas has for Katie Garland. It cracks me up to no end. Where it's like, it says, "Oh yeah, Piper. That was a great reference. Yeah, I was watching The Dark Knight last night, like for the second time." And Katie says, "I watched Back to the Future," and just Joshua. All right, excellent pick. So
yeah.
So, folks, I just want to say to you, thanks for joining us on this truly remarkable installment. And see what I did there? Remarkable.
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
And join us on our next reach into the Just Giggle Grab Bag. Major thanks to Mark. Door's always open. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you both.
Beta fish, bro.
Beta fish.